People on Twitter. Hey, everyone, it's Sleepy Reader. And if you have a burning feeling somewhere, just ignore it and read comics.
Right.
This is, somehow I was inspired by Shaolin Cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. Hi, Donald.
Donald and Miss So, yeah. Everybody's here already.
Miss So, she said she has to do the errands.
But sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah, so greetings, Donald. And does Donald have a YouTube channel?
He's got a channel. I don't think that there's any videos on there, recent stuff. I was talking to him about it on Twitter. I talked to him on Twitter. And kind of extended the invite, so the public invitation there, Donald. If you ever want,
we'd love to have you on, Donald. If you
we just put you on the spot. Sorry,
yeah, totally put you on the spot. I'm not sorry.
And whether you want to, if you don't want to show your face, you could always point a camera at something else.
Yep.
Miss So was here. I assume she's gone, but maybe she'll be back. One of our favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good to see you, Rick Ray. What were we just chatting about comic book wise? We were complaining about lettering.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Celia.
Yeah,
and it's extra hard if there's anything in the lettering that confuses you and you're already having maybe a little trouble with the language if English is not your first language.
Yeah.
Rickard Westman, hello.
Hello.
Just keep on lurking, I guess. If you have anything to say, we'll be happy to hear it.
Yeah, cool.
Or read it. So yeah, I have not. Sometimes you guys like to talk about TV shows or movies. I have not seen. I struggled to see a little more of Thor: Love and Thunder, but I still can't get through it.
Right.
I was a bit of a pain in the butt. The goat screaming, come on. Like fucking hell, dude.
That was better than some of the other parts I saw.
Okay, thank you. Well, maybe they should have employed me, not other goats. But anyway, I watched the Bullet Train.
Nice.
With
that looks cool.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. Yeah, he's the main kind of douche. Ladybird, that's what his name was there. It was really bizarre, but I loved it. It had lots of quirky moments, very funny takes, a bit predictable, to be honest, but as a flick where, I don't think people have high expectations of plot lines in this kind of sorts of movies. It's very entertaining. You sit down, you start watching, you kind of get confused a little bit at the beginning, but it just unravels, and it unravels beautifully, actually, and they touch on every detail, so it has kind of like a bit of Tarantino for sure because of the fight scenes and things, actions. The Bullet Train itself, it's kind of like really well captured. I guess it would be. I've seen it in like news. I was saying how the Bullet Train works in Japan and stuff. Mm-hmm. But in that movie, it felt like you're actually in there in some moments and time. But very extremely entertaining flick. I giggled. I was like, I don't know what the hell is going on, especially characters' names like Lemon and Tangerine, or Ladybird. Lots of great actors there, which is that's what
Sure, but what about the fight scenes? How were the fight scenes? Were they just incredible?
They were great. I mean, as far as I know, with the fighting, like what fighting looks good to me, it felt good.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome.
I was looking for, the individual brilliances because the actor caliber they were picking up, like Brad Pitt, and he's always chewing. That's one of the signatures he has, and he's still done that in this one as well. Then you have a couple of actor cameos, which were surprising because I wasn't aware, because I go like blind. I see the poster. Even the poster I couldn't make up any like other characters I was looking at. I just wanted to like see it. And a really good acting skills and some kind of dodgy ones as well. But Quicksilver in Wanda's brother, what's his name?
Oh, right.
Actor. So he was there and he was good. He had that proper like kind of Scouse English guy or whatever, like London accent, and it was great, and the way he was speaking, and it just felt really good, like the character wise he portrayed. So I think he was one of my favorite. Of course, Brad Pitt does have the experience, and you can basically sense an experience. He doesn't have to do much, it seems to be, and if you know what Brad Pitt does, he does there as well, which is really helps the flick in generally. But I highly recommend for entertainment value. Is definitely great. And it does reward you right at the end, but it's predictable. It shows you, you know, like they kind of predictably show some scenes where the things what you know should kind of remember, because we will touch on it later on in the movie.
Right.
But in general, it wasn't like, oh, you know, go on, you know, like I didn't have to do that. I was just like, okay, what's going on here? You know, who killed? You know, like there's deaths and there's a mystery, but then everything kind of unravels, and he has, of course, samurais and those old, like almost like Splinter kind of characters, like a wise man who's seen it all, and he's on the revenge, and he has this a cane which is actually katana, and you're like, of course, okay, you just were playing on that kind of stuff. So, but yeah,
so a good genre movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, as I say, I was just like, you know, exactly what you kind of, in a way, what my head was saying to me, what I would probably see, I got exactly that, which wasn't disappointing. You know, sometimes they do disappoint you in a ways, but entertainment factor was really high, which is exactly what I wanted to have.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty awesome. I checked out an episode of Guillermo del Toro's what the heck is that show called?
Cabinet of Curiosities.
Cabinet of Curiosities, yeah. I watched one episode.
To check that.
They have this director, Cosmos something or other, I can't remember his name. He did this movie called Mandy, and he did a movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow, both which are phenomenal movies. So he did an episode of the show, and it has like Eric Andre is one of the guys in it. And visually there's some really good visuals in it, but man, it was disappointing. Like it's a different thing when you're doing TV, right? Like you're doing the movie, you got time, you got a little more time, you got a little more money potentially. A TV show, there's so many other hands in it because it's part of a series, because it's on Netflix, because I felt like he was a little hamstrung a little bit. There was still some cool scenes in it, and I definitely want to see more of the show, because I think it's a pretty great premise, having that kind of classic Alfred Hitchcock Presents, because holy smokes, does Guillermo del Toro look like Alfred Hitchcock as he comes walking onto the screen?
So like, del Toro introduces them himself.
Yeah, and he's looking pretty wide, and you know, like he's a big dude, man. So, but it's such a great premise to have that kind of show back again, right? And the idea of having different creative people on every episode is pretty phenomenal. I think I had high hopes for this particular episode because I'm such a fan of that director. Like Mandy with Nicolas Cage is so much fun. And Beyond the Black Rainbow is this kind of psychedelic. It's so great. Like the visuals are very unique in both of those movies. So I was curious to see what he would do with a TV show, but just didn't quite hit the peaks. But I think that's because of everybody else having their hand in. Yeah, I heard that was a good one too, the third episode. Oh, so yeah, I'm definitely going to watch more of it.
Is one of the episodes of Cabinet adaptation of a Colin Bunn comic, or is that a movie the guy made?
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, he made
the Empty Man. Yeah, Empty Man is an adaptation of a Colin Bunn, and so it's the same director. He did the third episode, I guess.
So there's a movie out there that's an adaptation of a Colin Bunn comic. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, me neither.
No, didn't have a clue.
Yeah,
and I don't recall that particular Colin Bunn comic either. Actually, now that I think.
Yeah.
But he produces so much. I guess it's easy to miss some of them.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Yeah, so I think it's worth checking out more for sure.
Thanks for that info, Ray.
You know, I think it's a great idea, and hell, man, he's a pretty great guy, that Guillermo del Toro.
Is how the scary factor in that? Because I know it's quite bizarre and weird when it comes to getting into the screen.
I mean, that one episode, I didn't find it scary. I mean, it had its kind of gross out moments, you know, like.
Oh, okay.
But I particularly didn't think it was scary. But that's me, right? Like I've watched a whole bunch of stuff.
I can't watch it with my family.
Yeah, no, you totally can't. It's gross out to the extreme. The parts of it for sure.
Like Red Room gross out? You're talking now?
No, God, no, nothing like that. No.
That in a movie, I don't.
Yeah, no, not even close to that. No.
Now I have a reference point. You know, like I've experienced Red Room. Now my reference points is there all the time. So I was like, look, I have reference.
It's I would say that's more like that's more like the Hostel end of horror. It's not even close to that stuff. Yeah, no.
Okay. Because I am always twitchy when it comes to that. It depends if maybe it's very sunny outside and I can watch it, but then you know you have to have an ambiance in that kind of sense. Like you don't really watch this kind of stuff like in particular. Like I don't know. I don't really know, but sometimes
you got to watch this one at nighttime with the lights off. Because that's what this director is really good at, creating this ambiance and creating this world, and like the music is really great, and the visuals and the lighting, like the lighting is amazing, and the set that they mostly, it takes place mostly in kind of one basic set. It is gorgeous design. Like it's so hard to tell these days what's really there and what's CG after the fact, but I think that the set that they're in it's all a real set, and it's beautifully designed. Really, really cool.
Don't worry.
I know Taylor never reads the comics.
Yeah. We're just stealing a couple of minutes just to talk about something we watched.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. There's different kinds of gross out. Like some I have absolutely no problem with, and others it's just too real or too.
The gross out in this one was very cartoony. It was very cartoony. Like you couldn't take it like that. That's a real thing. It's just cartoony is the best word.
Then I don't think that's a problem for me at all, but still a problem for my women folk in the family.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But good to see Taylor there. And actually, Taylor reads a lot of comics. I watch his reviews every week. His cranky comic book reviews.
Right.
Okay.
So shall we talk about comics?
Yeah, give her.
Should we? Have we all read the last issue of Shaolin Cowboy?
Yeah, we did.
Should we just have kind of a discussion of that?
Okay, go on. You show the high resolution parts, and we'll just give you notes.
I'll give us some visuals here. Let's see.
So you have
that's issue 6. I read kind of issue 6 and 7 pretty close together.
Right.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they feel very continuous between these two issues.
Yeah.
And issue 7 was 30 pages long, so much so that they had to start on the inside front cover, and put the credits on the back cover,
which is amazing. That's so
fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah.
I think it's a good way to do it. I think they should take it as a sign.
Yeah,
I think why not? We always get like, oh, where's this? Like where is the people? And then here you go at the back of it. You have it all information. Of course, the people he likes to put this Shaolin Cowboy extras,
right?
Which is fantastic.
Right. We get the dog pooping on the back cover.
Yeah,
exactly.
And actually, there's so much detail in this little panel on the back cover. I had to use a magnifying glass from my phone to take it all in.
Right.
And Jared Osborne has talked about using a magnifying glass on this, and I think I am going to go back through.
Yeah.
There's
so much to see, man.
There's so much to see.
Left.
No, it doesn't. I'm having trouble with my camera today.
Yeah.
But just incredible.
What I really liked about this one, he had those great lines where in some of a few like kung flu, now I'm gonna give you a swine flu and that kind of stuff.
The bad guy was saying racist kung fu comments the entire way through, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing, I mean, if you just look at the backgrounds,
I love that page right there.
Everything. Everything in the background is KKK, Donald Trump, NRA. This comic is full of rage against modern America.
Yeah,
very much so.
And that we know that the creator Jeff Darrow lives in France. He's fled America,
right?
And I think he looks at America with horror, and that's what this comic is.
I love the pig with the swords on its teats and stuff. That is so ridiculously funny.
He was in the previous series.
Yes, for sure.
Full Stop the Rain.
Yeah,
because he thinks that the Shaolin cowboy ate his parents.
Right.
Mummy, his mummy. He ate his mummy
at a pork restaurant.
Yeah.
And I love all of the detail. All the human beings are just walking around completely oblivious.
They're just looking at
on
their phones or just walking
cigarettes.
around. Absolutely no one notices.
Absolutely nothing.
Or they just don't care. They're just,
even when their car gets hit and stuff, they just kind of, I guess that happened, and then they just keep driving and then just kind of keep going on.
Yeah.
Like nothing shocks them anymore. I guess another idea about the States or whatever. It's just so chaotic. People are just used to this constant chaos or whatever.
Do you think he left an open ending?
I mean, I think so. You could go on for decades with this character. Whether he will or not, we'll see. But I feel like, he
has said this is the last one. I mean, I love this, but I would love to see him do something different, right? We've seen him do this, and I think it was Terrence who pointed out that the amount of detail has just been getting more and more insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, if part of the narrative is the detail going insane, he's kind of taken that maybe as far as he can at this point.
It really feels like it. Like these cityscapes feel like unlike anything else. Because I mean, the other stuff, there's a lot of stuff in the desert, so there's detail with like rocks and things. But this one, there's like plants in windows. There's people in the background in windows. There's signage. There's all sorts of other things, like all of the garbage on the streets. Like I'm looking at a bucket here, and it looks like there's skull and bones in it. That's like a garbage. There's these random lizards, and it's just intense, man. It's really intense.
That car scene where the Shaolin cowboy gets squished, that was so well done, because the action scene is right. Like, so you pick the cars, and then you're gonna get squished, and there's gonna happen the squish, and then just like there's this action scene as well, which is fantastically picked paneling from him as well. But I think it's just what I'm saying. I understand. I think would be great to see him doing something else, but because of the love for the character, it seems to be, it just shows in the comic book like that.
Right.
And I really do like Shaolin Cowboy. I think he's really like, he doesn't have to talk much, just all about action and stuff. But then, because the way he's representing him is still kind of like, oh, you're caring for him at the end of the day, because he gets up to, some things like pig things that he he ate his mom, and then he's like, no, I didn't do it, and they try to like have his conversation, and it's like, I don't know how to convince the pig anyway, but in generally, I think it's just the love for the character. I kind of like, I'm gonna miss him, the character itself, you know what I mean, because I really like that kind of type of silent person who you basically fall through for the series like these.
So what do you think of the panels in this one? Like if you go ahead 2 pages there, Damien.
Yeah, as you were saying, the paneling, the storytelling is exquisite. I mean, you would think he would just get so distracted by all the details that the storytelling might get lost, but you get blow by blow. Were you talking about this
that
page?
one there? I love these 2 pages. I love the use of the bigger panels and the little small, like it feels like, again, this feels like something I don't think he's done before in Shaolin Cowboy, like these types of layouts,
Right. It's like, I mean, this is kind of trivial, but it makes me think of how when Jackie Chan was in his prime, every movie he had to outdo himself with a stunt. And it's like, not only is that he outdoing himself with the stunts and the detail, but also with the camera angles and the sort of kineticness of everything. Like just the amount of thought. I think you would think it might take a month to figure out how to do this one panel here.
Right.
Exactly.
And to link it perfectly with the last panel and the next panel and everything.
On the next page there, down at the bottom, when oh no, sorry, no, that's not the one. Sorry, it'll come up later on. There's a good gag about cochon means pig in French, and then the little asterisk is I hope this makes this mandatory reading in French classrooms. I laughed out loud. Yeah, that right there. I laughed out loud at that one. That's the best.
Funny little and talk about gore that doesn't bother me. But there's I was a bit mind blown when they're pulling the guy's intestines out.
It was so great, and tying it to a car that's driving away.
That's driving away. And the guy's just screaming the whole time. I mean, it's kind of merciless. Although we hate this guy at this point, we're happy for any pain he experiences.
But again, it's so over the top that it just becomes just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Right. And then I guess his head gets cut off with his own intestines wrapped around his neck.
Yeah. As they would. I mean, why not?
Well, no, he uses swords, but the intestines.
You're right. He uses his sword, but
just to keep it in the place, and then he just chops proper.
It's insane.
It really is.
It's a really good way of kind of polishing, like if you want to end this and never come back to it, it's really good way of respecting yourself as an artist and respecting the reader who wants to follow through, because the comic was the pricey matter, this $5 a pop, which is quite a lot, because the collected edition definitely going to be like, what, maybe 45, maybe 50, what, more than 50% off, don't you think, comparison to what we spend in floppies.
And hopefully it'll come out one of those large size hardbacks that the other ones have come out in, because the larger you can get this art, the better.
But the thing is, like, we have this agenda called gutter loss.
Yes.
So hopefully, but he's
True.
doing the
I mean,
dark
if
horse.
you don't want any gutter loss in something.
Yeah, because even in this comic book, how he splits the panels in there, imagine that would be off just by a smidget, and you're like, oh, okay, that's
yeah.
Because of great amount of detail he has, he has to be portrayed so well. Local comics.
Hello.
This is Shaolin Cowboy by Jeff Darrow. It just wrapped up.
Yeah,
so probably Cole is wondering what it is. So it just wrapped up. You could probably find all 7 issues, or it'll be out in hopefully a hardback soon.
Yeah. It is.
There's so many, like, as we're talking about it, I'm looking at the panels and looking at the signs and things. There's so many just hidden gags. Like there's a G-Spot church. There's a Pussy King restaurant. There's a no left turn sign, but underneath it says no left turn except men. So it's just all of these absolutely absurd little jokes. Like I wonder if he collects these things throughout the year, just jots down these little ideas to make signs. Like that's where a lot of the thought is going to. Just and every single sign is different. You don't often see. Well, I mean, maybe you do, but I haven't noticed any repeats. So.
Yeah. No, it seems to be moving forward with the scene and how he is just imagine actually having the map point of view of a town, how it looks like in his brain. I would be very interested to see that as well. But...
Fetus recovery experts, bye baby. We buy old fetus. It's so fucking amazing. It's so funny. I'm gonna have to go back and just look at the signs, I think, because there's a million that I missed.
Cole Comics claims you can actually check the earlier Shaolin Cowboy series as well, which if you don't want to wait for this one, is as great as this one.
Yeah,
it's just spectacular stuff.
Yeah, I think for people unfamiliar with it, you could even start maybe with the one that came just before this, Who'll Stop the Rain. I think that's a really good one.
Yeah.
They're all
and honestly, you could just jump in.
They're all about craziness. There's no real plot.
Yeah.
But the second one, where the entire thing is one long fight with zombies, might be a bit much for some people.
Oh man, that is so good. That was that to this day, that is a standout run. Because that entire, what was it? Was it 1 issue or 2 issues that were?
No, it was 5 issues.
It was it was but there was one specifically where it was the giant. Was it through the whole thing?
Yeah,
where he's fighting with his chainsaws on the end of the pole.
Yeah.
Well, if you see the cover of the last issue, you see those chainsaws again coming back, because I don't know what's the fascination with chainsaws, but chainsaws are everywhere. It's just like something and he does it really well. So on the cover, the main character is holding shitloads of chainsaws. If that's something for you guys, So as you can see on the cover,
the main bad guys.
Yeah. So they came out with a statue of that series you're talking about, where he's in the middle of it and he's with a chainsaw going, and there's this characters around him. So there's a statue or figure, whatever you call it.
It's both Cole. It's written and drawn by Jeff Darrow. And Stewart is the colorist. So it's mostly a Jeff Darrow project. Yeah. You might know Jeff Darrow from doing Hard Boiled with Frank Miller and Rusty and the Boy Robot. No, Big Boy and Rusty. Yeah. Those were the 2 things he did with Frank Miller. And then he's done a lot of movie stuff. And I think he was very involved with The Matrix.
Oh, there you go.
Hoopla has 4 of them. Hoopla would be a great place to start, because you could look closely at the artwork digitally.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yeah, you can zoom in. And
then if you like it, go get the hardbacks or something.
Yeah, because the Dark Horse produces really nice stuff anyway. So good to look at.
Yeah, Dark Horse hardbacks are definitely the way to go. I think there won't be much gutter loss in those.
They even had the extra matter afterwards about the guy who lost his hand.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Right, it's kind of an afterward where he gets his.
He's like, "Oh, I have my hand up," and then there's this hat coming up, and it's like you never know what would have happened.
He says, "Happiest day ever," and then no way. It's so funny.
Yeah. So
it's just so stupidly fun. Like it's just so asinine, but it's an absolute blast, man. So good.
Yeah, it's just if this is what it's not really what your storytelling is going to tell you. It's actually what his panels and artwork will tell you. It's just phenomenon. Sometimes you can't imagine the guy's abilities, and the guy who actually still doubts himself, which is absolutely bonkers to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, like we were saying already, he definitely has a viewpoint of the United States in this run. That's for sure. That he's getting all of that out of his system. It feels like a bit of a cleansing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see. Maybe maybe this is so much him that that there's no other, he doesn't really need to do anything else. But it would be interesting to see if he has something else.
Let's hope he's gonna do something.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him away. I'd like to see him work with another writer. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, good work.
Okay.
I would like to see him work with another writer. Yeah, Fuckface is back there. I see.
How does that work? I just blocked him. How come he keeps showing up anyway?
Because he's got a bunch of different accounts. Is the way that it goes.
Oh, the picture's slightly different. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time after my stream blocking what I thought was every account, and I think it was like 5 different accounts.
Yeah.
Sigh. Well, Mr. Burgle, we don't care what you do.
Yeah, you win. You totally win.
No. Do you want a prize? Anyway, yeah.
So
it was great.
So does one of you want to dive into something else?
Okay,
go for it.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so
I think she was saying, "Okay, go ahead, Terrence."
Travis.
Yeah.
Call you Travis. I'm renaming you Travis.
Yeah. Okay, let's go for something very well. I have not read this for a while. Not for a while. I have never read this, but I really enjoyed it. What I really did as well. I also looked at the playlist. What the girl was listening on a tape. And I went for every single thing, whatever she was they give me information. And it really does work. It gives you that mood and that sense of where the time is and whatever they do. And it's so, because my memory is seems to be a bit crap. So this is the guy of one of the sons of that main character who we followed from, what is it called?
From the criminal series. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, the guy who. So is this how he died?
Honestly, Rasa, I'm flipping through it as you're talking.
Yeah.
I believe so. It's been a long time since I've read it, but that's my memory of it, right? Yeah.
So basically, what we follow is Ellie. Who Ellie is just I'm not really sure in the lore of that. I think she's just there to tell this story off because she was kind of like. The way it's also started is that she walks by the beach. She just approaches the man with the dog, approaches her, and she's like having this conversation how like the music, whatever inspired her, about people and killing themselves, or actually being on the drugs. And it's just her fascination about that, and it's in a way also. Kind of like the man was like kind of scared. Are you sure you are right, honey? Kind of thing, because the mind's the way her thought processes was. So it also started with like rehab center. So that wasn't really where like as I always go completely blind and all my brain is completely shut. But then when I mentioned the skip name, I was like, oh, I'm alert again, and I really didn't look at the back, even though it says in here all the stories what they have written as well. But honestly, I think this is one of those, like this format, a graphic novel is one of the strongest ones I've read from them too. I think this is always, I like the coloring. I like the psyche of the characters.
Yeah.
I like the main character, especially, maybe it's because of maybe her struggles and ordeals, and I wasn't aware what would the end will be, even though knowing or read quite a few of Edward Baker's and Sean Phillips's books, I should have predicted there's underlying story afterwards will be. This is just a setup, but honestly, everything works so well for me. And as hers the main character, I would like to see her again, to be honest.
Yeah,
I would
totally.
definitely would want to have her own story to see how she came about after this, because this is not something you do for no there's a reason behind it, and it kind of explains to you why her thinking was, but she really took the limelight, and Skip character was just there as a basically kind of, I guess, reward for our characters who was reading, or the readers who was reading Criminal beforehand. Because you have it in a kind of extra story, even though they really didn't give us much in this one. But the art, as I say, the coloring, everything, just such a well done. Even the stories, how she was talking about the music and her fascination about musicians who have drug addictions or any kind of addictions, and they turmoil with that, creating such amazing music, and also unfortunately dying earlier than they, what we would think they would have. So quite a few of musicians, definitely. Some of them are in like this band here. I wasn't aware of it. So that was interesting too for me to actually see. Billie Holiday stuff I absolutely love. So that was just a tick for me. And Warhol's The Banana album they mentioned in here, there was also a tick for me. So it's really worked, kind of thing. I guess it's the right way going for it. I think I really like when they do that in comic books as well, integrate the music part, especially like the Deadly Class had quite a lot of punk music. I actually discovered, not my thing. I've never been into punk anyway. It just gives you a bit more dimensions into what you're actually reading as well.
Yeah.
So superb job.
And even the paper quality in this one too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got a real nice toothiness to it.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a bit old school to it as well. Like they have that, like you said, that toothiness into it, and it just, as I say, it's really well designed little thing. And I really like the colors choices of the, like this nice blue, sky blue color with her being, complementary yellow hair, which is exactly works for your eye. And definitions and generally, but all those pinks and those things. Is it? I'm not saying. I don't know if I've seen. Who's the colors? Oh, Jacob Phillips, his son. So his son did really good job in here. Yeah. To be honest,
I think that was the first time Jacob colored for him.
Oh, is it? Well, then you did a really good job in my eyes. I really like this, the clouds, undefined cloud systems, which was really good. Because sometimes, it's very difficult in generally to draw clouds, which I am attempting a lot. There's the Instagram painter I'm following. He's an amazing oil painter who does amazing paintings of clouds. You kind of just want to go and just like swim in those clouds. So it's just like seeing this defined cloud systems just really work. So yeah, Jacob does. Yeah, Texas Blood too. Yeah, yes, Ghost Comics. Yeah, it's one of the things, but actually he draws into. So as a one thing which I have not read, I highly recommend, is a little thin graphic novel. You will want to know exactly what's happening, because it's, even though it's very talkative, it has action, like not to extent of fighting scenes, but an action meaning that moving forward in the storytelling, not just being in one location, let's say this way. But yeah, really good. I mean, just like I want more at Brubaker, but the chasing, what is it, the last thing they do? Those are already 4 volumes or 5 volumes.
Oh yeah, the
out.
Reckless.
The Reckless books.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. No. I even I looked.
I wish they would do more like this one.
Yeah,
they were really in the groove there.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the characters they chose. Because the era is great at the beginning, especially the first. I bought first hardcover, and the era, time, and some like the cinema, all that seems to be a fantastic. But I cannot. Like she is not great. I mean, she's not a good guy, in this things. But I still care to know exactly what's happening to her behind the scenes, because not always you understand people's attentions until you understand what's behind. So she was very interesting to me, and I really would like to know what would happen next to her. Whereas that the Reckless character, I don't know. I can't follow him. Maybe I'm not invested enough, or it's just something I wasn't really into it. So yeah, this is really good.
So we have a fourth member. Our favorite Texan is able to join us.
Oh, cool.
Hey, Gore, we're really glad to see you.
You look.
He's got the cup to prove
it. Cheers to that.
He's just been out helping the cheerleaders find their winter coats.
Filled with whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more people would cherish what I do for those cheerleaders. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it really is not easy.
Yes,
right.
You've taken it on yourself.
I don't think any of you have ever been under a pile of pom-poms in your life. It's an ordeal getting out.
I believe it.
So, yes. Oh, hey, Celia.
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry that I'm late and I'm still.
No problem.
Cold here, but
we're glad you can make it. We know your Sunday is busy.
Yeah, for us, 50 degrees is like below zero for you all. I mean, we're used to the heat, but we can't deal much with the cold.
Yeah.
So my internet connection may be, it's already a bad one, maybe worse. So I apologize beforehand. But anyway, it's good seeing all of you, and thank you for the invitation. So
hopefully it'll warm up. Well, it'll warm up as we go. The internet, that is.
No, good seeing all of you.
Hello, Garage Geek. Well, have a good time at Target. This will be
It'll be there
up later.
Yeah.
Well, we won't put you on the spot right away, Gore. We'll move on to Terrence, and then you can come up after Terrence in terms of telling us about what you've been reading lately. So what have you been reading lately, Terrence?
One that I forgot about last week, not because I didn't want to talk about it, it just slipped my mind. I put it on the shelf. Fever and Herbicon finally came out. I feel like this is, that's right. Yeah. From the IDW series they've been doing of books. I feel like this one has been on the slate for well over a year at this point. So it finally came out. The bookstore had one copy. They hadn't even put it on the shelf, and I rushed out and grabbed it from them because I didn't want to miss out. And it's my favorite of the Scoiton stuff that's been out. The bonus for me in this one is there is some extra bits. I feel like my memory of the Cheval Noir stuff, it didn't have this introductory piece. And then there's bonuses at the back as well, too, where they talk about the coloring, because this version is in color. So they go through kind of the process and their thoughts behind it, and kind of, showing some examples of things, which is great. So I love the black and white of what we saw in Cheval Noir, but
Terrence is frozen.
Job of it, so am I frozen, did you say?
You froze briefly, so we missed half a sentence, I think.
Oh, okay. Just saying that I love the coloring. They did a nice. I love it in black and white, but it's really nice to see them do the colored version. So the basic premise of this is this guy is the architect of this town. There's kind of this chasm, like a lake or something that's dividing two sides of the city. But what happens is he's brought this cube into his office that a friend of his has uncovered. When they've been doing some digs, they uncovered a cube, and that cube sits on his desk, and it starts to grow on its own, and eventually it ends up taking over the whole city, and changing the landscape of the city. So you get these beautiful shots of the city, and he's talking about planning and what his next phase has to be. And right at the beginning of the story, he's trying to convince the politicians that we need a third bridge. My whole design is unbalanced without this third bridge, but they don't want the extra bridge because that's going to give more people on the other side of the water or the chasm the opportunity to come over to their side, which means they're going to have more security, more checkpoints that they don't want them coming in. So once this cube starts to take over, you can see it on his desk there, kind of growing into it. Once it starts taking over, it opens up the entire city to, let's see if we can find a good picture here. It opens up everybody within the two cities to kind of walk across, and there's stalls that are set up on the cube itself, on the beams. There's all sorts of interaction with everybody, and it completely changes not only the landscape of the city, but just the way that people feel about their part in their kind of surroundings. Here's another really nice panel there as people are using it to just kind of get from one point to another. It's such an amazing story. And the arc of our main character too, he maps out the entire grid at one point. And they end up using that later on in the story. I don't want to kind of tell you near the end or anything, but here's some nice winter scenes of the cube itself. It's beautiful. Like, it's such a great story. It's really well told. Like, his art is phenomenal. It's a highlight out of all the books that IDW has put out. They're all worth picking up. But I would say, like, if you haven't experienced the Obscure City stuff, this is a fantastic place to start. I really, really enjoy it. And I've read it now probably about 3 or 4 times at this point. And every time it's still really just fantastic. I loved reading it in the Cheval Noir, even though it was smaller. That's the other bonus with this, is they do make it this bigger size, which is
right.
There's the usual comic kind of comparison there. So yeah, it's so beautiful.
It's been around a long time. If it was in Cheval Noir, which was the early 90s.
So it's been around.
Presumably published in Europe before Cheval Noir.
Correct. Yeah. So the original date, I'm not seeing right off the top.
Did they color it for IDW, or was it colored in Europe
That's a very good question. I'm not sure if it was originally colored in the European format. Just the Cheval Noir version was black and white.
Right.
Looks like 80s, possibly here. Yeah, some really good stuff, like advertisements and kind of preliminary designs for posters and things. Really, the guy's amazing. Squayden is unbelievable. He's a really unbelievable artist.
Are they currently still producing this series?
No, he's moved on to some other things. He still is around, though. He still is doing stuff. I feel like I can't remember who sent me a link recently. I don't remember if it was Colin or if it was you, Gore, or maybe it was Earl Grey. Somebody sent me some information about some newer stuff that Squayton's still doing. I think next year, it might have been Colin, actually. There's going to be an art exhibit of some original pieces of original art from him. And there's going to be a sale going on, and the price tags that are on these original items are just fucking astronomical. It's bonkers. And then just for the IDW stuff, there's 3 other volumes. The Tower and Shadow of Man, which we talked about. I think LahRasa read that one too, right? Yeah. And then
had that one.
The Maris, which is really nice, which is a really great story too. So beautiful books.
I wonder what theme. I'm sorry, Damon.
No, sorry. What'd you say?
You know, he's got that book on the theory of sand, right? A grain of sand, where sand just seems to envelop a city. Beautiful architecture, and no one seems to know where it's coming from. And I wonder if this is a theme with him and the artist, right? Where we have the city, and it's some unknown force, some unknown entity, which at first seems benign and inconvenient, becomes just overwhelming as the story develops, right? He seems to enjoy these things, this aspect of the storytelling, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, every story there seems to be, even in the early stuff, there's all of this relationship with your surroundings, with the town you live in, with whether you live underground or you live in the mountains or you live in a city. Like, it's really integral to every part of his storytelling, this how we kind of interact with our surroundings, and how that kind of especially kind of tells us who we are as people, right? Like, there's a lot of that kind of subtext throughout this stuff too, that your identity is also your surroundings, you know, that kind of thing. So, and that change and getting used to the change, right? So
it's like an urban version of magical realism in a way.
It's almost what Mr. X could have been.
Yeah, it does seem like
what it could have been, because all of us know here there was the issue for about a year or two. You would see the cover. I think they were drawn by Dean Motter or Paul Vervoche. I forget who drew them. Beautiful covers, right? And go back to the 20s, right? Or the early 30s. But then when the issue came out, I'm picking it up and being a little bit disenchanted with the artwork because it didn't really fit what the covers were doing.
Right.
But in time, I mean, I liked it very much, and as you guys know, it's one of my favorite comics. But I wonder if, I mean, I don't know about. I've never seen an interview or seen it referenced as maybe a possible influence or inspiration for these two creators. It may not have been, but I think they're the same generation. I mean, because they've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Could it be just one of those synchronicity or congruent of thinking of the zeitgeist of the 80s?
Right.
And so, but yes, when I see them, I'm thinking of Mr. X, what it could have been. I mean, in a sense, it could have been, the art could have been probably a little bit better than it had been.
It's always hard to know if North American people know about the North American creators know about the European comics at the time they're being created, or only later when they come out from Dark Horse or something.
Right. No, I know from our part of the world, we don't. I mean, I can't emphasize enough the importance of Heavy Metal Magazine, and because that was one of the few places you could, but it was just so relegated to the porn parts and convenience stores, porn magazines and such. So whoever read it would have been over 18, and it's not sure why they would read it, and so
and also embarrassed to buy it because of
exactly. No, absolutely. Right? I mean, between Hustler and Penthouse, and I used to know all these by name. But my age, I'm forgetting the night of all these. Swank was one of them. I remember that. That was one of the ones. Horrible. Penthouse and Playboy. So, in any event,
But you never knew when there'd be a Harlan Ellison story in one of those low-rent porn magazines.
You know, you're right. That's right. Even to be fair, Penthouse did have some good writers and people.
Good articles, I hear.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they Playboy.
No, I know. Yeah.
I mean, it had the best. It really did have the best. I mean, Nabokov wrote for them.
Yeah.
I think some early Stephen King stories were in We or one of those other ones like that. Anyway, that's.
I didn't know about We. We did have the best
title. They're all a blur to me now. All those non-Playboy magazines. But,
did you guys put back?
I was proud of reading heavy metal when I was 18. I used to clip out the raunchiest parts in my college dorm and put them on the wall to shock my my hallmates.
You had to put in the paper bag when you buy the magazine, so make sure that nobody sees you what you actually had.
they would give you paper bags. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, the clerk would judge you.
Even with the heavy metals, though, honestly, like even the heavy metal magazines, they'd put it in that paper bag, right? Like it really was. Like I think it's an important point to make that it really was seen as a certain type of thing, and it really was put in with like the smut. And I guess there was. You know, I mean, we were young enough, like when we discovered it, it was all that was exciting. Like, hey, check out these cartoon boobs and stuff, right? But there really was a stigma because of where it was positioned in these shops and news agents, right? So, yeah.
Well, especially at convenience stores, we have families everywhere, and you are at the counter and you say, "Can I have that copy of Penthouse?" People are listening to you request that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, everyone around, anyone who's within a listening area is knowing you're getting something from back there.
Right.
If you're conscious of that, or if you're conscious of them being conscious of that, it's already a stigma.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's heavy metal and you're actually buying it because of the value, the aesthetic value of it. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You're buying it because of the breasts, the naked women.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
It begins and ends there, and the judgment of most people. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Von Baudet and Cavalier. Yeah.
There was a lot of interesting stuff between the beavers in those magazines back then. I think later they didn't feel like they had to try to class it up, you know, with.
Look at you putting writers. That line so easily.
Yeah.
Good one.
Smooth movement there.
The show should be called Between the Beavers.
Excuse me, I don't think you should.
Luckily, my mom.
You
never
guys don't
watches
really
my
even
channel.
own one, so we need another one to have it.
Well, Gord, do you have something up your sleeve that you'd like to tell us that you've been reading about lately?
Well, unfortunately, you've already sent me on one path, and that's not good. And those books they're not handy right now.
Oh, too
bad. Well, it might be I think it might be a Carlos Jimenez afternoon for me, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Are you guys
familiar?
familiar?
Nice.
Oh yeah, I don't know that one, but
I am not familiar with Carlos Jimenez. Was he in heavy metal at times? Or
I don't
someone else with a similar
so.
name.
I know he published. Give you an idea of his artwork here. I don't think so.
Oh yeah, no, that's not the artwork I was thinking of.
Most of his work has not been translated into English. This is one of the few. And this one has an introduction by Will Eisner, whose style you probably already know. This is
yeah, I see the similarity there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Before I go on, Terrence, what do you know? I mean, which one? As far as I know, this one is in English, but I'm sure it's been translated into French and other languages.
Did he also do stuff with Jodorowsky as well too?
I don't.
So I might be confusing him with another artist.
There's that Jimenez who worked on Metabarons.
Okay,
right. I think that's where my confusion comes.
So I think that's where my
it's another
confusion is,
Jimenez.
for sure.
It's a different one.
Yeah. Hello, Paulo.
Gore, your internet is dropped out, of course, right? So we're having trouble hearing you. So maybe I will talk about something and then we'll try going back to you.
Okay.
And maybe the audio will have gotten better by then.
Okay.
So as many people know, I received some yummy furs in the mail yesterday, or I got them at the beginning of this week, but I didn't open them till yesterday. And then last night I stayed up late and read 3 of them. And I had a fantastic time. It's hard to stop once you start. And I realized it was experiencing stuff I've already heard Terrence talk about when he read a whole bunch of Yummy Fur together. And then I finally understood like why it said 1983 here, but the copyright was 87. And I remember Terrence had already said that it was the first few issues reprinted his mini comics. But so it's interesting to think he started doing this right around the time that Love and Rockets came out. And maybe you had pointed that out also, Terrence. I can't remember.
No, I didn't actually. That makes sense. I didn't realize that. But of course, yeah, that would be true.
And in a certain way, his original instincts remind me a bit of Gilbert Hernandez in a way, with the surrealism and the kind of just odd sense of humor with the surrealism. The artistic style, of course, is different. But we get just one little crazy short piece after another. And I love that he dives into it so that it's as if the story's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah,
like in the toilet paper revolt. We're near the end of the toilet paper revolt.
Yeah.
And his sense of humor is just, I don't know. It's very bold, right? He's not afraid to just do whatever he thinks of. And maybe that's, in a way that fed into his autobiography later. He just is uninhibited. And he's trying different styles, right from the beginning. And what was I going to say? I loved this one about the guy whose TV was telling him to do things. That was really incredible. And that's a completely different style than, say, the toilet paper style.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I'm just going to be gushing over these. Let's see. This is issue 3. So this is still from his mini comics days, and he's getting much grosser.
Yeah.
There's the whole gag Well, another clever thing he does is there's these separate seeming stories, but then they all come together in this surreal way as it continues. I mean, at first we just see this guy sitting on a toilet for a long time, and in the last panel he says he can't seem to stop. And then later we come back to him, and that's pretty gross because we learn that he's having a problem with endless feces.
Yeah,
an endless poop. There's our first sign of what's to come.
Oh, dude.
It gets worse, but at least most of it's off camera.
Oh, I see.
But poor Ed the Happy Clown, without his makeup on here, eventually we learn is possibly killed by a giant flood of poop. Which is really gross. And then even though I missed an issue, the next issue that I have has Ed the Clown in a back alley dying or dead. I guess he's dying, not dead.
Yeah.
And there's a voice coming from his pants. And I know Terrence has already covered this, but anyway.
It's so good.
It's just the lack of inhibition here, and the way all these surreal elements are starting to become more story-like is just kind of fascinating. I think, was this issue all one story with the talking penis? At one point he says, "I'm the president," so I don't know if he looks like the president of Canada.
He's Ronald Reagan of another dimension, basically.
Oh, I missed that. Or does that reveal later? He doesn't have the Ronald Reagan hair or anything.
That'll be in the previous issue. He's Ronald Reagan by name only. He doesn't look anything like him, but the previous issue will fill in those gaps.
That's too bad he doesn't look like Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the hair.
Anyway, it was amazing and disturbing. Very disturbing. Although,
it's just so amazing how he tied all of these short stories together.
Right.
To create this bigger narrative. It's impressive, man. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Gave me a whole new appreciation for this early stuff, because it's not something, the couple issues I'd read here or there, you really do need to read a good chunk of it, like to kind of see that flow and see it happen.
Right.
Because random issues just give you these tiny snapshots that kind of don't do it justice. I think it's really one of those where you need to be reading it all, like you can't really just jump in anywhere.
Yes, I always bought it for the articles.
Yeah.
But there was some bonus stuff in there.
Hello, Edward.
Yes, Edward, I guess, knows about the penis.
Yeah.
And Ronald Reagan. And hi, Chris.
Hey, yeah.
So anyway, like you're saying, it's amazing. And I think we're seeing someone doing like a juggling act where he's just improvising as he juggles these pieces. And that's fascinating. And it's nothing like the stuff that I've read of his in trades and things.
Right.
But I'm really loving it. I'm not sure, like, if I had picked up one of these issues back then, which I might have done and just don't remember, I probably would have just said, well, it's interesting, but it's not worth $1.75 or whatever the cost here was. I think it was $1.75. This one doesn't have a price on it, but this one is $1.75, and they're quite thin. So it's with hindsight that allows me really to appreciate it, I think, which is kind of a shame. I mean, I wish I had jumped on this at the time, but there you go. I look forward to reading more. I will be searching for the issues in between, but I think you've given me enough issues, Terrence, that I can get that sense of the flow, and I don't think I'm patient enough to wait and fill out the gaps. So I'm going to be reading this, and I would say so far in my reading, the first 10 issues have been the strongest. It's still good after that. I'm up to 15 issues now. But the first 10 were just so solid as like one chunk of storytelling, and seeing that develop through those first ones. It's great. What do you think of the Bible stories in the backup? When I had read that other, like issue 26 or whatever it was, I liked that Bible story more than this one. This one has an interesting, you've just come off of pygmy cannibals and talking penises, and then you're in a Bible story about Jesus.
The narration is interesting in them because there's no punctuation, so it's just a run-on sentence throughout the entire narration, which is odd.
It did all seem odd, and it felt like he was skipping. Like the Bible has a certain kind of rhythm to the way the stories are told, and he's skipping out the parts that one bit leads into the other, and just suddenly we're in a different parable, parable to parable to parable, or they're not parables, I guess. These are actually in this one miracles that Jesus is performing. But I do like these. I think it is weird to go from one to the other, and it's hard to shift your reading mode. But I do find it interesting the way he's tackling the Bible. And these are all because I spent about 19 or 20 years going to church every week. I've heard all these stories read to me many times, from the pulpit. So it's interesting to see them as comics. But it does seem like a minor achievement compared to the surreal stories.
Yeah, there's lots of the letters pages later on. People talk about the Bible stories specifically, and there's a couple of issues where he goes into detail about, in his usual Chester Brown manner of, in this last one, page 17, panel 5, I made the mistake of saying this word as opposed to this word. And like, there's a real dissection of stuff, right? Because like you're saying, Chester was really inundated with church and stuff growing up, and religion was a big part of his life. So it feels like part of him is kind of digging into that and exploring that worldview. But it's like a crazy person talking because of this nonstop kind of run-on sentence. It really gives it this kind of feel. I found it difficult to read most of them. I did give it a really good shot, but I fell off on those stories for sure.
I can see that. I mean, I've only read one here, and I mean, the art is quite good in them too. He's putting a lot of effort into the art. But you do wonder what he's thinking when he's doing, like, what is his ultimate purpose? Because it's so different from the stuff where he's just digging deep into his id and just pulling out whatever comes to him. I also thought in the back here he recommends the 10 black and white comics you ought to be getting, in his opinion, which includes some that I had not heard of: Alien Fire or Border Worlds or French Ice. But it includes Love and Rockets, Neat Stuff, Puma Blues, Ralph Snart, which I thought was a color comic, Reed Fleming, Stig's Inferno. That's just vaguely rings a bell.
So anyway. French Ice was it was a compilation of kind of European and French specifically, I think, like more comedy strips, like more gag strips from what I remember, because I've got some of the issues. That's what that one was. And then you said a couple of other titles, but I've already forgotten the name.
Border Worlds, Alien Fire.
Those are, I think, Kitchen Sink did both of those as well too. I only have like a random issue or two of Border Worlds. I don't have enough to kind of dig into it, but I've heard good things about it too. And Alien Fire, I think I've only ever seen like one issue, so I don't know much. But again, I think that was a Kitchen Sink one as well too that they were putting out.
Right. I think I Never Liked You originally came from Yummy Fur.
It did.
I think Paying For It was not serialized, but I'm not sure.
Paying For It was a standalone. That wasn't in anything else. And, Gore, were you saying something there, Gore?
Sounds like.
I wasn't sure if you can hear me at this point. Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you fine now. So
I have to apologize. You guys have logged off a couple of times, and and Damien, everyone here. I mean, if it becomes an interference, I mean, just log me out.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I don't want to interfere with the show. But
it sounds fine now. It's just when we lost your audio, or it's just like static, it seemed like a waste to throw away all your good thoughts.
Static. No, because from my end, though, because my connection kept getting cutting off, which is going to be a problem with my internet. But he didn't mention Dave Sim's therapist, did he?
Yes.
He does, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, good, because Dave Sim has commented, and in the early 80s, I remember reading interviews with him that this is one of the books he very much admired.
Oh, right. Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. It's, the whole Dave Sim thing is weird, because I even watch some of his videos now, or a few years ago, because he has his own video channel. And it's like, is this the same guy? It doesn't seem where'd all that creativity go? But anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he has. I only read off the names of the ones that were unfamiliar to me mostly, but he has Cerebus on here and Reed Fleming and Zot.
Zot McCloud.
Yeah. So all of that stuff was coming out at the same time, and there was a problem of too many black and white. When there was that black and white boom after the Turtles, there was just too many.
Yeah,
it was hard to keep track of them all. So let's try again, Gore, with talking about that artist that
Carlos Jimenez,
that has the similarity to Eisner. You were saying? Nope.
I think he's frozen.
Maybe it's better if we go like this. If you're smaller, maybe it works better.
Yeah, keep it like that. I don't mind.
I'll keep it like this. I think it works better.
Let's see. And again, whatever you have to do is fine with me. I'm just really sorry. Basically, I was talking about Carlos Jimenez Paracuellos. And to stay in this theme, imagine it's 1948. It's a small town outside of Madrid. Franco has been in power for 7-8 years? It's after the Spanish Civil War. There's these agencies that have been set up for kids who are orphans of the war, but also the children of undesirables, people who are in prison, the communist, socialists, the republic,
I'm sorry, Gore. We're losing you again.
Okay.
I wonder if it's once you start talking a lot.
It's very robotic. It all of a sudden starts chopping.
Yeah, from my end, I'm really sorry at this point.
It's not your fault. It's the internet, right? But
yeah,
it's on my end. I mean, you guys haven't had this problem. So definitely from my end.
Yeah, I can't make out any of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't get your audio again.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you didn't. I know you do.
I'll try kicking you out, and you can try coming back on if you want, and maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, it was super robotic.
Sad.
I couldn't
I couldn't make up. It was like the end of the thing, and you're like, what was beginning? Yeah, so sad. It's a pity.
It's been good every other time he's joined us. I wonder what the difference is today.
Yeah. Well, he said he thought the cold was affecting his internet. I guess it's possible.
Totally possible, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look.
A new crack fan.
Hey, how's it going?
Francisco.
Glad
you're
the
5 fans that are out there. I appreciate every one of them.
the 5 people with good taste.
That's right, yeah. Who's next then?
Let's go back to Rasa, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's mine. Good, bad. No. No, it's nothing bad though. It's just I don't know which one to pick. I'll do singles these times because it's much easier to handle them. So my love for turtles.
Hey,
so
look at those.
I'm getting this offshoot thing for the first time, but it's really much like a cartoon. So it's almost like watching a new cartoon because it's very much like extremely similar to what my cartoon times were when I was young watching these turtles. And it has exactly the same sense of it. The April, my favorite look of the April is that. Show you this. She's how I see April, with that haircut and stuff like that. Once I was asking my mom, maybe I should have the haircut like that, and she's like, your hair is not the same like hers. Yours too thin. It won't have so. And then she's like, like the perms used to be quite a factor in those days. And no, my mom's like, you're not ruining your hair. So I did not do that. They have this blip thingy. It's just so good to basically reminisce back into those turtles animation. They are really going for it for sure in this one. I don't know how long will it go. I don't know what I had a bit of. I usually don't pick up offshoots. I just go to main title, even though I think I'm missing out on some stories quite a bit, like extra factors and stuff like that. But like if I would go into Turtle Realm, I would not be able to pick up anything else. To be honest, there are so many of them. it's kind of hard. But this one we have a Krang, and going for something that was invented and thinking that they will have advantage for them to defeat the turtles and stuff like that. It doesn't go according to them, because the guy who was sent became a good guy, and he, because of the love of music, it's kind of themed again. Music is a theme of my reading this time. It seems to be a little bit, and yeah, it just felt so amazing to read this again. And the main book, which is 134, which is the numbers is just like crazy. I can't believe I've been picking 104 issues now, because I started from issue 30 when the comic book decided to start picking it up.
Oh wow, that's when you started picking up on a regular basis.
Yeah, so
holy smokes.
I'm the one who likes the long term in comics. So
that's
if I
awesome.
pick up, so that's why Deadly Class was a breeze, to be honest, comparing to this. Look, it's 104 issues. The Deadly Class only 56 is not really that much, to be honest, in my realm. So yeah, yeah, exactly. So I really like, as I say, it's part of my a very good factor to just have a good feeling while you're reading something, reminiscing those childhood dreams of meeting the turtles for the first time, all that bullshit. Anyway, so this 134th issue is all about a theme of Armageddon game. And unfortunately, it does tie into a my regular reading of Turtles, because there's this like an event book which has been released, but it's actually I still able to follow through of a storyline. Once again, Turtles Mutant Town has been walled away from the humans, and they have this little like kind of society which we have to deal with. Oh, he's back. And then it's been fantastic still to read, to understand what's happening with the turtle world, and what it's kind of like the turmoil and things. I think it's very thematical, like what's happening these days, like the war in Ukraine and everything. It seems to be the turtle kind of in that kind of like a shift of society, not agreeing to things what's happening. There's pretend turtles who's pretending to be them, and the turtles are in a different realm to help something. So just a bit chaotic, but it's still extremely enjoyable read. And as always, you pick up your fight scenes, and no matter which artists are here to do the job, they really do like good service towards that. I guess like it's almost like Hellboy, some certain sense of the comic book. This one definitely has that, and yeah, it's really as always very entertaining. Another thing at the back, I think, oh no, it's not this one. The previous comic. The previous comic has all the covers, for example. So the one I was showing to you earlier, this one. Surprised that they show like an extra, like graphic novels has an extras issues, like a cover of that, but also an extra covers, which was released by others, which nice I don't really see that often. Yeah, in the floppy format. I usually see it in graphic novels, but this one's had it. Anyway, so because of the I guess I have this comic book in here because the Usagi Jimboys are like disappeared, yes, because the rights are gone to the Dark Horse again.
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen the last of the IDW.
Take me off the full screen if you want.
I don't know if we've seen the last of the IDW Usagi, but I assume so, and that'll be a few months before it reappears at Dark Horse. And they haven't said if it will be in color at Dark Horse or not.
Oh, which would be kind of a shift again, like once and
we had Gore and we lost him.
Yeah, shift on that, because I guess that's why I was speaking up, because I always Usagi was my another thing I really wanted to continue reading, but that since I think you mentioned it, that the rights jumped into Dark Horse now, and he has his own like
his own label or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the one. So it's interesting how it's not there anymore. So I don't pick that up yet. But IDW, I'm going to talk to you about one of a TV series fan I am again, and I read it digitally, unfortunately, not the a floppy because I didn't realize it coming out. So I'll talk about it when it's my turn, because I absolutely love that one. Even though I like these turtles, it's just so comforting. You know, I don't need to overthink the turtles. You know, I just read it. I get the take of the turtles. I feel like really happy, and that's it. I am safe, and I'm gonna continue having it 11 months because there's lots of things finishing, like Shaolin Cowboy is finished. Rick Remender stuff is finished. Talking about Rick Remender, by the way, just a little bit. I found out that he's gonna do a 1 issue, I think, or is it gonna be series? Nobody disclosing, but he's doing a free comic book day issue. With the guy who has been drawn in for Dark Horse, you know, those Furama brothers, one of the brothers.
Nice.
An artist of this. So I found
usually that means they're kicking off something new if they have a free comic book.
Yeah,
so
well, that's the thing.
There's a new Remender project.
Yeah, because that's what they said in. Thank you, Silver Night Kyle, for the sub. I hope there's some Rick Remender stuff, because I'm already like, I really need to have that in the kind of thing, because I enjoy it. I have such a little pull list now that kind of need something, you know, like of the quality, of course. In general, it's difficult for me to invest in new stuff, because when I commit, as you can guys see, I do commit for a long time. I like that kind of sense of, you know, have that constantly there for me every whatever month if I'm reading that kind of way. So
for people who don't know Silver Knight Kyle, he's worth checking out. He has a very deep collection. I mean, it goes back to before the 20th century.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
And he's on a lot of cool. He's doing a lot of cool stuff with the Gray Man on the Gray Man's channel.
Oh, nice.
Where they've even interviewed JMD Matthias and
that's right,
Hillary Barta and one other really cool person whose name is but anyway, definitely check out Silver Knight Kyle. Thank you for joining us, Kyle. You just traded away Teenage Stan Skyworks. Anyway, so Terrence, something else up your sleeve?
Hello.
Or up your shelves?
This is my radio station.
The library. Something up from the library.
Nice.
Another Cyril Pedrosa book.
Very good.
Is that the Golden Age person?
Correct.
Yes.
Golden Age and Portugal. But this one is a black and white book. And it was this kicks off my trilogy of death reading apparently this week. I didn't do that intentionally. It just, all of these books had to do with death. So this one is kind of like a folktale surrounding this family, and they kind of you get introduced to kind of their life on the farm until one day we get a trio of horseback riders on the horizon that are just kind of hanging out, watching their house. And they just kind of appear every once in a while. So I guess there's a husband and wife and the son. That's the whole family. No other children, just the three of them. The wife, I guess, has a bit of a history of kind of magic and potentially like witchcraft. So she wants to go to see this old woman in the village to talk to her about what this could possibly mean. And it turns out that these three riders, again, this is early days, so this isn't spoiler by any stretch. The three riders are there for their son. So this kind of, the son is going to die, and it's the parents coming to terms with this. And I'll try not to get too choked up as I'm reading it or talking about it, because in my old age, I've become a big softie. So everything makes me cry. It feels like it was such a fantastic book. The art is gorgeous. It was so great to see his art in black and white and see his line work. I love, as you know, I love this guy. And this was a beautifully, beautifully done book. Like, had this real kind of magical elements in it. So the mother has kind of come to terms with it. The father hasn't. So he's going to take the boy and kind of try to run away from these three riders that are coming for them. And then that's kind of where the story really kicks in, which I won't even show you kind of panels from that part of the book. It is so worth reading. his illustration style and his ability to kind of like move from stuff that's very moody like this with these really kind of rougher brush strokes to kind of portray this emotion to the stuff that's very, very clean. Like, look at this expressive as the guy is trying to chase off, or the father, sorry, is trying to chase off these riders, all of these kind of like brush strokes and just kind of these bold black and all of this shadowy type stuff. Like, look how good that lighting is there on the dad standing outside into the trees, looking off into the darkness. It's really, the guy's incredible.
Is he kind of changing his style depending on the moment of what's going on?
Totally. And Paulo, I told Paulo about it on Jared's chat there on Friday, and because somebody had asked what his art style was, and Paulo was very right in saying that it really depends on the book that he's doing. I see a lot of like Disney, that classic kind of Disney animation in it, but he's absolutely right to say that it really does depend on what book he's doing. So this is the mother going into the village to go and speak to this old woman to see what the heck this could possibly mean and if there's anything we could do. So I won't show you much past that, but I mean, that's how much of the book we've looked at, and there's still all of this. So it's a really nicely designed book too, from First Second. It's also from First Second. And I love whatever this type of printing is called, where all of the pages are different. They're not kind of smooth and sharp on the side.
I wonder what that is called. It seems like more expensive books will have that.
There is a name for it for sure, but this was so good. Like, really, all of his stuff is recommended, but if you don't know his stuff, I think this is a really nice one to kind of get into. Hey Sean, how are you doing?
Welcome back.
This is a really good one to get into. So I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I think Sean would like to know the full name again.
Pedrosa.
Cyril Pedrosa. Okay. And Paulo's familiar. And let's see. Sean was watching your video about Castri. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah. Genevieve Castire or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the last name. My French is no good. But it's this big tome here.
Whoa, I didn't realize how thick it was.
It's a video you produced, isn't it? Today, did you?
500 pages. I just got it yesterday. Yeah. It just came out recently. Just came out from Drawn and Quarterly recently. And I'm absolutely loving it. It's gorgeous, gorgeous work.
Yeah.
And who was it told you about that? Ryan Carey?
No, it was one of the library books. Yeah, sorry. Ryan Carey told me about this collection. Yes, that's correct. He did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kyle was following up on what I was saying about the stuff they were doing on the Gray Man's channel. They also had Tom Mandrake, and that was really cool.
That's very cool.
They apparently are going to have Liam Sharp and Neil Gaiman. This is kind of mind blowing.
Mick Jones of the Clash. Holy shit, there, fellas. That's kind of mind-boggling list of names you're just
on Gray Man's channel, where he usually gets about 30 views or something.
Wow. I gotta watch more.
Kyle is really connected. So, but
that's
and
amazing.
I really enjoyed when these three comic book geezers are just chatting with these comic book professionals, and it has a more genuine kind of feel. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely. I'm glad you subbed up, Mr. Krakk.
Nice.
And you should sub up Rasa if you haven't. Although I think just to catch these shows lately, Rasa, you've only done these live shows, but you don't want to miss one of these. Celia loves that Pedrosa book. Kyle is connected. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Maybe it's just that Kyle is not shy at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's my turn. I am going the opposite of art.
Oof.
Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. I loved these two issues.
Look at that.
I almost thought this was a connecting cover, but it's not.
Almost, hey, yeah.
That's the foot into the arm.
So it is written by Bruce Campbell, the not Night of the Living Dead, Evil Dead guy, and all sorts of other things. And I love Bruce Campbell but I didn't know he could write. But he seems perfectly good at least writing this kind of over the top, crazy war meet zombies story. Now there are these fantastic sort of, for lack of a better term, realistic, gritty looking covers by Gary Frank, who is an excellent artist. But on the inside, there's actually art I like better, but it's so different. I wonder if it's a bit of a shock for people. It's
Edward Riso.
Edward Riso. And
I like his art.
And there's incredible colors too. I forgot the colorist's name is Christian Rossi. I haven't seen that colorist before, but perfect for Riso. And so it's just wonderfully moody. Page. And, you know, there are moments where I feel like, you know, it's that has that Mike Mignola feeling.
Wow. It is very much
or, sometimes there's even a few panels that look like Richard Corbin when he was doing line work rather than his airbrush stuff. And it's a really well done B-movie story where the Nazis are, you know, bringing all their soldiers back as zombies, and Sergeant Rock is being sent under, you know, behind enemy lines to try to stop, to try to kill the doctor who's creating the zombies.
Wow.
And it's just beautiful to look at and really fun to read. It's odd. I don't know why the word balloons are squared off, but that really bothered me. That's my only complaint about this. Just so many great visual moments.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
And a, you know, a good enough fun story to let Edward Riso, you know, really do his thing.
So we're talking about Riso is the what had he done before, like
100 Bullets?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And
so
Moonshine, I think, was the last thing I saw him on. Moonshine, I fell off. I got kind of tired of that.
Yeah, so did I.
This is supposed to be 6 issues. If you ask, my opinion is it could easily be just 3 issues. You know, I don't know how much plot complication there's going to be for 6 issues, but I'll probably keep getting it because I'm just really enjoying it. Just seeing what the next scene that Riso, I think.
Yeah.
And just the right colorist for him. You know, sometimes a colorist can ruin the artwork, and this colorist just has the right touch. You know, this is the way to do night scenes with these fun purples rather than just obscure the art. And stuff.
So beautiful. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to mention that was one of my most fun reads of the week.
So this second issue is new out. So I'm assuming
I think there might be a third issue. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Since I got COVID, I've been sort of falling behind, not keeping track of things. Like I used to make a list every week when I went to the shop of things to look for because it's not all on my pull list. Like when I heard other people mention it and stuff, and I just stopped doing that. So it might be that the third issue is out. I'm just not totally sure.
Okay. So is this a new way for DC to put the books out because the even the label looks different? Is this what they're trying to do now?
They've had a few books out that have said DC horror like this, and I don't know. You know, it's not Black Label.
Yeah,
it does say it's ages 17 plus. Although I'm sure, you know, a 15-year-old would absolutely love this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's like we're talking about the kind of gore that is disturbing and the kind that isn't. There's nothing disturbing about, at least for most people. I mean, a small child, you wouldn't want looking at this, but anyone else who likes, you know, just fun horror.
Every time I see Sandra Rock, I want to see Kubert's art on top of the covers. But
right.
Because that's what the name you associate Sergeant Rock with.
Kubert did so much Sergeant Rock and all the covers for Sergeant Rock for so long.
I mean, even on that cover on the left there, that even looks like Bruce Campbell, that main character.
You're right, that does.
It really does look like him.
Yeah, Riso didn't do that on the inside, but so this was a big surprise. I mean, I was very curious because I like Bruce Campbell and I like zombies, but I didn't expect it to be this good, and
big surprise to me as well. I'm totally grabbing that.
Riso was on it, and and also because of Moonshine was less excited over Riso, which is not fair because his art was.
I loved his art in there, but I just fell off the story. Like I just stopped picking it up, and I see it every once in a while in the bins, and I'm reminded that I should go back because I was really digging what he was doing. It was like a werewolf kind of story, and it was great.
It should have been great. I mean, somehow it wasn't.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But who's the writer of the Moonshine? Was it the Cullen one or not?
No, it was Azzarello.
It was Azzarello.
Oh yeah, the 100 bullet creators together.
The same team, yeah. And Azzarello's just super inconsistent for me. I'll like him and then dislike him from book to book.
Okay, cool.
So the kayfabe guys, they did a video recently about Jorge Zafino, and they were showing some original pages of art, and it was unbelievable, the similarities from Zafino to Rizzo. Like, there was a lot of similarities, and even when you were flipping through the book, there were some facial features that were very reminiscent. If you haven't seen that video, it's highly recommended. It's about a 20-30 minute video. It's really great seeing those original black and white pages from Zafino.
Yeah, and I've been getting into Zafino. I've been collecting books that he drew. That's the father, right? Because there's a son.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah, I've been collecting the few old Marvel and DC comics that he had done. I've been finding those. But
what is he known for? What is he known for?
Terror Incorporated was one of them that I picked up today.
Did he do a Punisher series?
He did. I believe he did some Punisher, like some graphic albums of Punisher. He did Winter World from Eclipse Comics. Was kind of like one of the first ones that I saw of his that I really kind of
I bought those Winter Worlds, but I haven't read them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was someone who would have been a big star, except he died young.
Yeah, 43 or something, I think, is what they were saying.
Yeah. And now his son is around doing bits and bobs here and there, and he has quite a cult following too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with the comments. Yeah, he's a very strong artist, a very good storyteller. I'd like to see. Working with J.M. DeMatteis.
He's so great, man. I love DeMatteis stuff.
Well, DeMatteis was doing a Kickstarter where he's doing 4 new comics.
Oh, wow.
And you can get all 4 together and then vote on which one you want him to continue with.
Oh, right.
I don't like having to choose things like that. But anyway,
I
supported that Kickstarter, and I found out about it on Kyle and Gray's show. So anyway, I don't know if the Kickstarter might be almost over or over at this point. I have to look it up. Okay. Back around to LahRasa.
So I'm going back to see. Well, I didn't realize at first, but Manuel Fior is I read before his work, but this is the new things I read of this. So Celeste was the thing I was reading beforehand, where I got absolutely confused. He was going into a realm where I wasn't understanding exactly, but this time his the interview has been. I showed you that 2 weeks before because we weren't doing a show last week because of the birthdays and all that other stuff, traveling. I picked this up and I was like thinking, I read it and I was like, should I return to library or no? But because when I read it, I really enjoyed it. But sometimes when you read something, your things flittering around. So I had kind of almost like flipped through it once again just to remind myself, because I absolutely love this, and graphically is beautifully done. Fantagraphics has published this one, 2013 in Paris. This book was put, but then the English edition copyright to Fantagraphics was 2017. So it starts really nicely like this. It has this yellowed paper. And it starts with just the scenery. So I think he uses, I'm not really sure. I think it's like a graphite / ink and / something else. But it's a very kind of a bizarre / intriguing tale of this man who's driving home on the countryside, seems to be. So he's a psychologist, and while he's driving, he's talking to this guy, and I think it's this scenes especially has been set to kind of set what's going to happen in the book later stages. So while he's driving, he's talking to one of his friends who has marital not issues, but well, he is sleeping somebody else. Okay. and he's not happy about the girl he's sleeping with, because she's basically thinking that she's trying to use him to lift herself in the ranks at work. And because he's a friend and he's a psychologist, he's asking his opinion about that kind of stuff. And then while he's in the conversation, the friend who he's sleeping with somebody else, he gets really angry with him because he's kind of like doesn't give you his opinion properly. And the bizarre part was that he starts seeing this in the sky, and I was thinking, what is this? Kind of like I was thinking maybe it's a smudge, kind of, like you start thinking all those weird things, but apparently it's extraterrestrial. And that's when this kind of tale gets started to twist. So because he's seeing this and he doesn't know what he's looking at, he's having an accident. Thankfully, he survives and still seeing the aliens, which looks kind of like really kind of bizarre shapes like triangles and stuff, which is really, really good. And graphically, the silent panels works tremendously because you just see the person's action in it, and it's black and white. It really works for me.
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like maybe a little bit too thin of a lines, like let's say we're drawing grass, because it's kind of, you cannot see it really clearly, but it just helps with the theme stupendously. So when he comes back, it seems to be that his life of his marriage life is not great either. His wife is about to leave him. She's actually looking for an apartment. And then his car is now ruined. So he's kind of like, not really having a good day. And then he's coming back to work, and they have this lady who one of the newest patients, and this book has really good themes. Architecturally is very beautiful, like this earlier. I don't know if he's using like photos to make it, but it looks extremely realistic in some places and looks very imaginative in others. So maybe it's just mashing to help him to tell the storyline. I'm not sure. I'm just highly like guessing.
Yeah.
So he gets this new patient, and she's 21 years old, this lady here. But what he is surprised by, that her folks took her into this hospital, I presume, that she is changing according to her parents. But what we know that she is she has a different points of view of life. She's part of this cult, let's say, where everybody can sleep with anybody and everybody's free. And they describe it as what does he call it? What is it? I can't find it now. Oh yeah, the new convention. That's what they call the thing where she's part of the group, and she's 21 years old. Parents think that she's not taking life seriously, kind of thing, or she's like too promiscuous. And also what makes him surprised as well, she discloses that she's seen aliens as well. And because he thought it's just a random accident, like maybe he's seen it or he drank something too much. But she says the same thing. She saw it, and she also says that she can understand them telepathically. So, and from there, the story goes. Safe to say that they have extra curriculum activities, and he's struggling to understand how he's professional doing this to himself, and to because he almost thinks that it's a midlife crisis situations and some of that. But the story unravels to a point where he kind of gives in to her friends, and he goes to visit them on Sunday on his free days. He's so fascinated with her, and she comes into his house, and where they basically which describes as a sexual act in the complete blank panels, which was fascinating. It also has this little
haunting for Terrence.
Yes, the snippets of a hand and saying, "Ow, you pricked me," kind of thing, and says, "Oh, well, you poked my hand," and it's just continuously that. And then you have this lovely scene of the lady bits and pieces. So it's really, really well done. how it ends. It ends kind of like futuristic, but I don't want to spoil it because it actually was very surprising to me where the tale went. So it's based in Italy, by the way, in 2048, the future, according to them. And it rewards you right at the end with that sex scene I showed you with our panels. Right at the end, it actually shows a bit more graphic scenes about afterwards. So it's kind of an extra thing for you to see. Really good. One of the most, I guess, whatever I've read so far from him, this is the strongest one. It's really intriguing. You know, it actually, now I understand, now looking back in the screen, this is all about those alien shapes as well. So it's very intriguing. And her face, her clothing has the stars thingy, and she's like always, and she's really accentuated in some of the panels, which I didn't really disclose that much. But honestly, really strong. And I was surprised how strong it was.
What's the author's name again?
Manuel Fior. So
I'll have to look for that in my library.
Yeah, so
it's been on my short list at Fantagraphics. It's one that I always go back and fill a cart, empty a cart. So I want that one. Yeah,
this is I really recommend you take this because it's really strongly written. If you get a if you take a Celeste, it's a bit all over the place. It's also alien based, I think, or extraterrestrial, let's do this way, or something like that. But it escaped me because I couldn't grasp the idea he wanted to go portray in this one. It felt very kind of like nonchalant storyline with a character who is just basically daily life and what he's experiencing, and suddenly he meets somebody who kind of intrigues him to a point where his life completely kind of changes. But what he does afterwards is very interesting as well, because I wasn't thinking that's how it will end. And another thing he says, Annelise I can't even pronounce her surname, Vernerjul. She helped him to do some of the stylistic, I guess, finishing touches of the style of the work, because his face and all of it is exactly him, what you know from previous works. But it seems to be this one is just so well thought out, because his paneling, grids, and everything, it works tremendously. And in black and white with this like smudged feel to it as well, because he's using graphite, I presume. It really works, and your eye doesn't have to wonder too much because to make up the lines. It's actually really easy to follow. And I really, as I say, I cannot say enough, but I think one of the strongest things he done. And as a package is really well, Fantagraphics is a bit too much because it's library book once again. But yeah, it's beautifully done, and I'm also very surprised. And I'm glad that those moments where I don't even realize that the same writer or artist I'm actually reading, I've read it beforehand, because this before work, it wasn't really working for me. But I didn't really judge it because it's good, because I wouldn't have discovered this, because I probably would be like, nah, I hated whatever I had before. Let's not even bother. But honestly, this is really good for me.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Really good to know about.
Okay.
Let's see. Paulo is saying Zafino's art is typical of an Argentine art. I guess I don't know enough Argentine art to know that.
Yeah, the Punisher stuff they showed does look a little odd, no doubt about it. It looked interesting, but he has this way of like making these angry faces where it looks like nobody has a top lip. So that was unusual. But honestly, the pages they showed on the kayfabe, honestly, have a look at those, because it's his black and white, and I thought it was incredibly expressive. And I think that what happens with some of his stuff is that the color ruins it. They talk about this one in the chats there. Yeah, this 7 block. I picked this up today. So IDW put out a version of this that in black and white. So this is from Epic Comics, and it's colored. I wanted to get it anyway just because I was
so he has a really inky style. I can see that you would prefer in black and white.
Yeah, and it looks, and I think sometimes the coloring darkens it and muddles it a little bit, where it's not really, you can't really discern as much. It's still good and expressive, but seeing the pure black and white stuff, like the expressive lines and the chunky kind of like darks and everything are really amazing. And then I just found one issue of Terror Inc. And the issue 1 of Terror Inc. is burnt in my head because I know that I had it when I was a kid. Obviously long since gone, but I'm curious to find some more. And it was the same thing here, still really nice. Like I like it. But again, I think the color doesn't necessarily always do him justice. And the bonus in this one, which I didn't realize until I opened it up, Rasa, is our good friend Dr. Strange is in it as well too. So I'm curious to see what this one's about.
Oh, you better gonna tell me as well, so I might look.
This one is issue number 5 though, so I may wait to get a few of the early ones, see if I can find them in a cheap bin, to see if I can kind of get a chunk of them and give it a good solid chance.
Is it called just Terra? Or not like Terra or whatever?
Terror Inc. as in
Terror
Incorporated.
Inc. Terror Inc.
INC.
Oh, it's like a Batman Incorporated as well, yes.
Right. I think there's only 2 or 3 issues that he drew.
1992 is this one, Terror Inc. Okay. Yeah. So and then that 7 block, as far as I know, was just a one shot. It was just a single issue. I don't think it went any further than that.
Oh wow, 10 issues. So how many issues of that Terror Inc?
I think there was 10 or 12 or something. Yeah, something like that. It wasn't like a long series.
But he didn't draw them all, did he?
I don't. I think
I was researching it and just finding a few issues, but maybe I need to double check that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. When
you
say
goes to number 5, because that's his name in number 5. So maybe near the end they transition to somebody else.
Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I like that era of comic.
So he also has something called Critical Mass, and is Shadowline Saga. Is that him also?
Oh, okay.
So maybe there's more work by him in English than I realized. I thought it was just a few things. But
he also did the Nom as well too, like covers at least for the Nom that series. I don't know how many interiors he did of that, but I remember Dr. Monkeybot being all over that series and trying to hunt it all down because he was loving it. So that may be something to dig into as well.
I'm wondering if he's influential on people like Sean Murphy and that kind of artist. That there's that whole sort of trend that I think of as the Sean Murphy artists, but doesn't necessarily mean Sean Murphy was the first. But
right, yeah, like Sean is saying, very lush brush line. That brush kind of with a little bit of, it's in control, but there's a little bit of sloppiness in there. Yeah. Totally.
It makes it fun to look at.
It can be also used as a dry brush to ink. So you ink it, you dry it off, and you like scratch kind of almost to the corner.
And then you get stray bits of the brush.
Yeah, it gives you like uncontrollable lines if you just wanted to basically do shadowing or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I have to. Luckily, I'll be able to come back and look at all these comments when I'm.
Totally.
I'm going to mycomicshop.com or something.
Right.
Such a bad influence all the time. It's kind of
We're all bad influences.
Yeah.
Well, library. I always promote library because that's
the library is great.
Yeah, it's the best thing so far for me.
So I think we're back to you, Terrence. Is that right?
So part 2 in my death series of reading. This is called Doctors by Dash Shaw, another library. They have another Dash Shaw book as well.
I've heard you mention the Dash Shaw name before, right?
Yeah.
He's someone you follow.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the name. I haven't read much. Chris Chaos and Comics had just read something. And it looked fantastic. And it kind of put his name back on my radar. So this is Fantagraphics as well. It was a really intriguing kind of sci-fi story. It opens up with this woman kind of going on a walk. And kind of slipping at the pool, and a guy comes to help her. And as we kind of, again, the first few pages, so not much of a spoiler, just setup wise, all of a sudden her daughter appears in her life, and it's very kind of, every single page is a different color. So to begin with, there's almost this really disjointed kind of feel, and the coloring kind of helps that as well too. There's these it's almost like these moments, like you're jumping through time, almost like dream kind of logic with the transitions and things. So we find out her daughter comes back and says that you're actually dead. You died. I'm here. I'm outside. Like we're the doctors. Our specialty is kind of transplanting ourselves into your brain and kind of being visualized as someone from your life to help bring you back. So you need to kind of focus on this. This isn't real. You need to focus on me, and I'm going to talk to you so you can kind of be saved to some degree. So that's kind of where it is. So she gets saved. She comes back to life, but there's an after effect with people who they've done this, because it's still very experimental science, that they kind of want to die at that point. They can't now deal with being alive. So this woman is kind of really holding on to this. She falls in love with this guy who saved her, and they have this kind of relationship in this kind of death world. So she kind of just sits for the rest of the time and wants to kind of go back and kind of not be alive anymore. She's kind of accepting and ready to move on. It's a hell of a story, man, because then you also get into the doctors as well, and it's this father and daughter duo who have kind of been doing this. So you get to see a little bit of their life, and it's these moments where it's just black and white really stand out to really good effect, especially later on the book, which I won't show you, but there's a moment at the end where it goes to that just black and white that is really kind of really brings it hyper focused, that part of the story. And I thought that was really amazing, because I wasn't really sure, once you kind of had the beginning where it was these moments, and it was clear to me anyway that the colors were really these moments of, this is an isolated incident, we're going to move on to another one. Once we started getting into kind of the storytelling meat of it, the colors weren't off-putting to me, but I didn't quite see the use of colors. And I looked back at Chris's feed I think on Instagram, and he was talking, like, he showed some panels from the Dash Shaw book that he read where the colors were almost used as like a painting behind the panels. So I started kind of thinking of it like that it was just this kind of, instead of, I don't know, using color in a different way, not necessarily even in a storytelling way. There's some storytelling elements to it, but also in just kind of like a pure design kind of aesthetic look to things. It was really intriguing, man. I saw the comments there that Noah Van Sciver had an interview with him. I'll definitely check that out. That's one that I missed. I'll have to check that out and read some more stuff, because this was a pretty damn good story. Pretty intriguing stuff here. An unusual concept. Just kind of its own unique thing. And even with the art style itself, it doesn't immediately appeal to me. I found I was really enjoying it after it was kind of going, after I was kind of digging into the story and getting used to it. Like stuff like this, I think, is great. This green and yellow is really brings that, jumps off the page at you there. So really nice. So yeah, very impressive here, and a real thin one. So it didn't take long to kind of get through it, but very impressive stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe it was Chris. He's also now sorry, I'm losing track of all the
all the comments.
Dash Shaw's been great. He read something called New School and one about Quakers. I remember him talking about something about Quakers, I think.
New School is, I think, the one that I saw his post on.
So could it be that Loading the Cannon is talked about Dash Shaw too? I'm trying to think of who I've heard talking about it.
Yeah, that's very possible. Yeah, that would make sense to me.
Who published that book that you have?
That's a Fantagraphic book.
Oh, Fantagraphics. Okay, so he's in the big leagues of the art comics. So
that's right. Yeah, he's in there. At least I'm. Yeah, no, Fantagraphics books. Yeah, just had to double check. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting when people play. There's so many possibilities in comics, and you can use the colors in a completely different way than other people do. So yeah, that's very intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're back around to me. Let's see, which do I want to do? Well, I guess you guys were already quite familiar with Tongue Lash, but
yes,
I guess whenever you guys have talked about it, I just sort of spaced. Because when I saw this at that funny little comic shop in Connecticut, it was like, I've never heard of this, and it looks like it's drawn by Mobius or someone very like Mobius. And so it's a 2-issue story, for those who don't know, about detective agency, sort of. He's Tongue and she's Lash, and people hire them to do things. but it's in this alternate world that grew out of Aztec culture. So you see the pyramids and stuff, but it also it has basically a kind of kinky S&M-ish sexuality built into the whole culture, it seems like. And the intriguing thing about it is you feel like there must be like a whole set of graphic novels before this building up the society.
Exactly.
And but it works. You just sort of acclimate yourself to what's going on as it goes on, and I think it all holds together. But it does make you wish there was a whole set of graphic novels set in this.
Totally. Yeah.
So I feel like this is the very best Mobius ripoff I've ever read.
Yeah.
It really was satisfying. It was like, oh yeah, I'd like you to rip off Mobius some more.
Yeah.
And they acknowledge Mobius. They say inspired by the works of Jean Mobius Girard. And the writers were during the 90s, they were the translators of Mobius into English in those Marvel graphic novels and for whatever stuff Mobius did for Dark Horse at the time. So they kind of maybe, that sounds like a recipe for disaster in a way. The translators think they can do just as good. But in this case, it works, right? It really works.
Yeah.
And it's incredible artwork by this guy.
It's beautiful.
Dave Taylor. And I
Dave
looked
Taylor,
him up and he's done work at 2000 AD and stuff. So it's going to be some work to find other stuff by him. And I don't know if it'll be the same.
Yeah.
But, he is really carrying the ball here.
Well, he captured all the lines really well as well.
Yeah.
That fluidity that Mobius have is also captured there, which is not easy.
Not easy to be,
yeah, exactly.
And putting in the detail and imagination, all the little details in the background. It's like he really thought through this different world. So it's pretty amazing. It's a little hard to keep track of all the characters and what's going on. And I would have to go back and reread little bits here and there. In the end, it all tracked and made sense. It just took some work. They weren't making it easy on you, which again goes to that feeling like this is part of a larger series. And as you guys know, and maybe some of the viewers know, they did do another 2-issue series, which so far I've been unable to find anywhere.
Right there.
Showing there.
Yes, Apollo is saying that he was the writer, or one of these two writers was also his agent in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
He and his wife live in Marseille now. Yeah, I think Mobius moved to Hollywood for a while. And I think they were working with him there. So they have a lot of intimate connections to Mobius.
No.
And I don't know, the sexuality in here is, I think, of a different nature than Mobius would do. It seems more deeply integrated into the whole society. And I'm usually someone, no offense, Terrence, but I get kind of bored by comics that just focus on sex.
Yeah, no, but totally. Yeah.
It was different for me in here. This seemed really well integrated into what the story was about and what it was exploring. And I'm sure there's other comics that you read that are the same. But I'm just saying in general.
Oh yeah, no, it totally can get tedious. But you're right. This feels like part of the society
that have a lot of sex, and my first thought is, oh, it's probably kind of boring for me, at least at this stage in my life. But it's really cool. There was something called the meta time, and I never fully understood what that was. It wasn't quite like at first I thought it might be like a cyberpunk kind of thing, but I don't think that's what it was.
Right.
So anyway, I really love this. Anyone who likes Mobius or likes science fiction, detective stories, and really out there science fiction, I think should look for this.
Did you guys think that those people with the animal heads? I was thinking that's a mask because like you always have.
No, we learn more about them in the second issue.
Oh, there you go. Yes, that's why I had so many questions. Like, why they are?
It's not explained. You have to kind of infer from things.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, I would like this whole world to be explored more. I'm curious what the second thing, the whole there's some kind of the people with the animal heads are some kind of artificial people, I believe. And maybe more of these people are. There's all these layers of different types of people here. So anyway, it's an incredible comic. And
do you know this name, this Scarlett Smolkowski, who's doing the colors? Because in that first issue there, you showed off these pages here. The coloring is exceptional, man.
Yes.
Like I haven't looked at this book in a long time.
Yeah.
It's
the coloring is
amazing.
exceptional. Could it be a colorist who had worked with Mobius? They don't credit colorists in the European things usually, but I believe he did sometimes work with colorists. But yeah, I've never heard that name before.
Yeah.
I suppose I should look her up. I hadn't thought of that.
If anybody in the chat is familiar, please let us know.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, this was really cool. And, I love creative science fiction. I've read so much science fiction, and when something can sort of surprise me or delight me, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, ultimately they must not have been that successful. And I don't think these people these writers make comics anymore. I did see on their website, they're trying to promote the idea that someone might want to make a movie out of this. But I don't think there's any, to my knowledge, there's no movie deal, but I can see why they thought it might make a good movie. Although it would be a very hard R, I guess.
Yeah. Well, or they would take out those elements.
They would tone
which
it,
I think would
tone
do
it
a
way
disservice.
down.
Yeah.
They could tone it,
and that would
down
be unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, look at the lighting coming through here. I gotta read these again.
Right there.
I got it. Yeah. I since they're right here, I wanted to flip through as you were talking to. The lighting in there is beautiful. I got to read these again, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely stuff that you can reread a lot.
This is the second series there, the second two.
Oh, you have it? I thought you said you hadn't found it. Okay. So,
and then, no, I never seen it again. I have never seen it since. It took forever to find them. But yeah, so that's the 2 issues for the second volume, I guess.
The art looks different on the covers. Did he change his style, or is it still?
It looks like it looks like the cover is definitely different. The interiors are still the same, though. It's the same colorist as well, too. Same writers.
Nice.
Same team.
Okay. Looks good as well.
Yep.
It's just like sometimes when you have such a thin outline, it's so difficult to you can see the flaw quite quickly.
Right.
Especially that's why I so admired Mobius in generally of his prowess as an artist, was that he was using such a thin lines but was telling such a great story without needing your help of the bold shadows or something like that, which is something what really attracts his work to me in generally anyway. So yeah, seeing that kind of thing is like I've seen other people try to do some Mobius interpretations, but not to the point where you second guess yourself, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so easy flowing things like that. Okay, so is it my turn?
It is.
Okay, I'm gonna show something. My scene is absolutely kaput. I'm talking about my tablet, but I can still read. My son decided to have a go at it. Is it cracked? Yeah, quite a few times.
Drop it?
Oh, he pushed between 2 things and it cracked, and then the screen is everywhere. No, but it's still readable anyway. But so I'm a big fan, if nobody aware, of Star Trek.
Yes.
But I'm not a comic reader of Star Trek.
Right.
But then apparently IDW is going to tell continuous story of a Star Trek fan, late discovered Deep Space Nine. And this continuing story of there you go, Cisco and this his continuation. If you're well aware, Deep Space Nine the way it ended, Cisco's perished, and in here it starts right from where we got left off. Okay, there you go.
Right when they abandoned the station, didn't they?
No, he didn't abandon the station.
Oh,
he went into with the prophets. Remember, they took him away for a couple of years, and he reappeared again. So this is basically the scenes where he's like, he gets his conscience back.
Amazing.
And then oh Jesus, that's very bright. So it's very difficult to find the right. Maybe I should wait. Looks my prowess on. Oh my god, tablet! Come on, give me a break. I'm trying here. Oh yeah, I turned down. It doesn't really. Anyway, so yeah, so it's, and to my surprise, it's actually, and this is like, the Jake's his son was writing a like a journalist part, so we're going with that as well. He's telling the story how his dad died.
Later,
and
Sean.
blah, blah, blah.
Hi, Sean.
Yeah.
Hello,
And then,
Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Sorry about that.
No, no worries. And then here you go. We have Deep Space Nine here, and they're having this. This is how it ended, basically. Them having conversations. What's going to happen next? With Deep Space Nine, and they continue to see. So, really, as a fan of Star Trek, is absolutely fantastic. It's I want to. So Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing is the writers. Ramon Rosanas is the artist, and the colorist is Lee Luridge, which we've well known him.
Yes, that's a very good colorist. I like him.
So, and it's as I say, if you are a fan of the Star Trek or Deep Space Nine generally, so well written. It just feels like you are watching another episode.
Awesome.
So he comes back. They 5 years later, he goes through like they start testing him, like saying what the hell happened, how is this possible, and he's kind of lost in his own mind. But there's this mission he still has in his mind, like prophets has given him kind of task once again, and then he goes in to see a Picard to give him a ship, because he wants to go to somewhere, and he's like, why are you coming to me? I'm just lonely, kind of like a captain. I don't have a say to anything. But he says, like, well, you have your, like your abilities to talk and stuff, or your reputation kind of thing. So he gets this ship, and he's a number officer, like it will be Data. So it's really good. If, as I say, if you are a fan of Star Trek in generally, it has all this Data dealing cards once again in here. So everything, whatever, if you enjoyed from that era of Star Trek, and this is the ship they're going to fly into. There's recurring characters from oh my god, Voyager as well. He's gonna. They have. So the ship is from the first Scotty from the first Star Trek. So that's his creation, and he's there part of it. And I was actually making noises of Scotty, like that, the way he talks in an accent in my head. So yeah, he takes his ship to travel to this space where the aliens are at. It's some evolution part where they have to be witnesses of, and they don't know if they're going to be at the same on the right time, arrive on the right time. So they have Lieutenant Paris, who is a from the Voyage as well. So there's lots of for Star Trek fan, great, and even the Doctor from the Next Generation. She's there to basically make sure that Cisco is all right, and he's actually on the same mind. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend to anybody who's a Star Trek fan. You will definitely have some of the good parts of.
Is this a single issue or a whole graphic novel?
No, I think no. This is a single issue. It just came out apparently.
Wow. Okay.
22. I'm not sure when it came out because I got it digitally.
Recent.
Yeah, it's a recent one, because I couldn't find even a like if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. Yeah. And there is really nice cover from David Aja, which is apparently
nice,
very rare one, and so actually going for money on eBay already.
Yeah, of course,
because they are scalping that.
Because it's IDW and they did a bunch of covers for it.
Yeah, I'll show you the cover, the Aja's cover from my phone. That's the cover.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Look at that. Wow.
I haven't seen much AHA lately. Or AHA.
No.
Yeah, AHA. Oh, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce Aja, AHA. His name. Anyway. So, yeah, it's really fantastic. It's ongoing. I think it's an ongoing series as well. So I'm really gutted because, like I was always, if I missed the boat, I wasn't even aware. I heard the whisperings of Cisco's story is gonna be coming back. But I wasn't, I guess, on time to find out when, because as I say, I can't find them. I mean, so I looked on eBay for, just have a laugh, to be honest, because first you can't find them, or you find those rare, obscure variant covers, which if you want to pay arm and a leg for it, and apparently somebody's bidding on it, it's already like £15 and upwards is going.
Right.
So it's crazy.
So maybe remind me, because my memory, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
My memory was that the last episode, the station was under attack and they had to leave it, didn't they? Or is that earlier, before the very end of it?
It's very well. So it resolved the issue of those aliens, and Deep Space Nine has survived to the point, but they were because they lost the prophets.
Yeah.
Because Deep Space Nine was created for a reason, because they were, between I forgot the race with those thingies.
Yeah, the Ferengi, right?
No.
Cardassians?
No. Oh my God, I'm black. Like always,
Dominion?
I have Dominion is the bad guy.
The Bajorians.
Yes, there you go. So
okay,
this was the pathway to Bajorian lands, yeah, and they had this
right.
very religious part of the where the prophets were the thing for them, and apparently they are extraterrestrial race anyway. They're not really the gods as they were thinking of.
Yeah,
but because I just recently rewatched Deep Space Nine, and this is so good that I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what's going to happen next. And I read up so quickly. I was like, and really well. As I say, established characters, the characters' voices are the same, what you expect them to be from Star Trek. And Cisco feels like that, that calm Cisco you always have, very composed and all that stuff, even though he's doubting himself all the time. Really good. So if people can find it, or if you are a Star Trek fan, this is really good, to be honest. I was really surprised, because maybe whatever we're going to try, it's never always a good thing to have, but it seems to be they are doing that as well, because the Star Trek is very popular these days, so which I'm really happy as a fan. That's just tick with my brain.
Yeah.
And now reading a comic book format, which is, and I've never experienced it, to be honest. This is
it's so nice. It's so nice.
When you break the dam, though, there's a ton of Star Trek comics you could read.
Oh, I'm well aware of it. I remember that time when I was just starting to collect the comic books. Somebody was saying, there's this older, the new, the older versions of Star Trek, the Gold Key ones and stuff like that.
There's now Gold Key, but there's DC and there's Marvel Star Trek. Peter David wrote a lot of good Star Trek comics. He's very good at Star Trek.
Yeah, but talking about those Gold Keys, then now they're unreachable. Especially with the
I used to find them in dollar bins.
Right.
Find it with the actual faces now, because most of them perished. The Live Long and Prosper guy. What's his name?
Leonard Nimoy.
There you go. So his cover comic, it's actually pretty pricey. I was very, maybe it was very fresh since his death. Maybe I don't remember. I don't recall when I saw it, to be honest. But remember, I was like, hey. Really, for a Star Trek comic book from Gold Key? Much? Or maybe the popularity of
long boxes, I guess.
Yeah, we can have a look. I honestly, I don't know now. I can't tell you, but I remember I was taken aback a little bit, for seeing such a price tag on the comic book, because I don't know. But anyway, so and generally it makes me more excited about that, because I like Cisco a lot. I think he's one of those, even though Voyager's character, the actress, whatever, the captain, oh my God, I'm blanking the name as well. She's my favorite, and especially now that I can watch it in the TV show The Prodigy, the animated series, which is still fantastic.
Yeah, that was very good.
No, it's continues, by the way, Damien.
We can't get it yet. We're waiting for it to be available to us.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Well, because you have to pay for a separate channel to see the next episode.
Oh, it's a different.
So we're waiting till we can get it on our other channel.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's such an annoying thing, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
going back to the coloring here, Paulo was laying some information on us.
Awesome.
He says there was Scarlett Smolkowski. So I guess she must be in the European comics world. It says she has a long bibliography on Beditheke. I don't know what that is. But she did no more Mobius, but she did color the series Kenya, one of several science fiction series created by France-based Brazilian author Leo.
Oh, wow.
So that looks like something to look into. I wonder if any of his stuff. Leo created series such as Antares, Betelgeuse, and Aldebaran. Those are all the names of stars.
All titles I've never heard of before.
But this one, Kenya, was in Sign Book. So
yeah.
So I might look for that.
Yeah.
I have to have a look then.
Thank you for that information, Paulo.
That's great info, Paulo. Yeah,
Cinebook is English publisher, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the good
stuff.
The big translator of a lot of.
Hold on, don't take that. Can you go back to that for 1 second? I'm going to take a screenshot.
This one.
There you go. Yeah, you
okay, got it. Thank you.
You got your screenshot.
I got my screenshot.
Oh, now we don't have your
I hope
video.
Bob is feeling well. I know his wife was ill for a while, so
sorry.
Hopefully you're feeling well, Bob. Good to have you here. So, wait, whose turn? Oh, I think it's back to Terrence, not to me.
It's a quick one. It's the final in the Death trilogy. So this is a bubble.
Don't tell me there's Death and Bubble.
Oh, there is, yeah, because this was the last thing that Geneviève Castré was working on before she died. So she died of cancer at, I think, 34. Oh. So at the end, her husband has a kind of, it says in the end, in her final weeks alive, Geneviève clung to finishing this book for our daughter with intense focus and devotion. I think she was trying to cast a spell to draw herself into survival. She didn't get to finish. So she didn't get a chance to finish it. So I didn't know that because I'd put this book on my list at the library. So when it came in and I saw this little board book, I was like, well, that's got to be a different artist. This can't be her, but it's presented as kind of like a kid's book. So she did most of the art, but the bubbles around her as the mother figure and some of the coloring, Anders Nielsen from Big Questions, and he's doing Tongues now and stuff. He stepped in and finished it so they could release it. And it ends, the story ends very abruptly because that's all that she drew. So it was me and my daughter ended up reading it together because I didn't know the story until I read this and then saw the kind of at the end. Because, I mean, this is a very brand new artist to me. So I just had no idea, right? I didn't know much about her. But it's and then knowing that you go back and read it, it's a very, very touching kind of story as she's sick and kind of in her bubble and still interacting with her daughter as best as she can and inviting her in to kind of share time with her and things, going into the garden and stuff. So it's really, really nice. But again, like you can see her style there is just really gorgeous. So yesterday, like last night, sitting up for about, I don't know, an hour and a half or so, flipping through that book. She did a bunch of music as well too. So I've been listening to a bunch of her music. And then at one point the bubble does burst. And it's beautiful to kind of like see her art and listen to her music and kind of get absorbed into kind of her world. Right. So, but it's a really touching little story that she kind of
trying to make me cry now.
Yeah. Well, if you do, I will. So please don't.
Well, listen, we'll do in tandem.
And that's the last panel there that she did, right? So, but it's really sweet. Like it's a very, very nice little book. Lily was really taken aback by it as well too. Like she really enjoyed this as well. So it was a kind of good one to share with her as well. But her art style is just gorgeous. I'm really turned into a huge fan of somebody that, again, like the benefit of going to the library and just trying out a book like that. Susceptible was the first thing that I read from her, and it was just on a whim, just seeing it on the shelf. So it's really amazing to kind of get exposed to some of these creators. So yeah, really, really nice little book. But like I said, I didn't know that all of these books had a similar theme. It just so happened, and I was reading them one right after the other, and I was like, oh my God, seriously, what have I done to myself here? And then on top of that, I took out some Albert Camus books as well too. I got The Stranger and The Plague is what I ended up getting. I haven't dug into them yet, but so I'm just prepared myself, I guess, with these to kind of get into his you know, existentialist nightmares, and you know, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
It's sometimes unbelievable how your mind just decides to do the same thing and you don't realize
it's crazy.
it. Yeah, because the theme wise, it's just like, oh, you know, collected for that one, or especially the sad ones. Suddenly you just pick them all up and it's like you gravitate towards it, kind of thing. And you're like, why? You know,
well, and then two of them having one of the characters as someone's, like, you know, the son in the Pedrosa book, and then the daughter in a bubble. It's like, oh my God, seriously, what are you doing to me here, people? Yeah. But really nice stuff. But at the end of the day, though, she was a fantastic creator, because going through that book and seeing these drawings and seeing this beautiful watercolor paintings and stuff, it's just such an amazing style. I'm going to be sitting with this book for quite a while, because like I said, I'm 200 pages into it out of 500. So I imagine it's going to take a bit to kind of get through it and absorb everything. So
cool. Completely different.
Hey.
And I'm glad to hear that Bob's not sick and that his wife is doing better. And so Paulo, that's the name of a French comics database. I might try and look into that myself. So many of us are loving what's it called? Greg Smallwood and Tom King's book.
Human Target.
Right. So, and I've been loving it. And I remembered that when Greg Smallwood started doing Moon Knight, there was a buzz growing around him. And now there's a big buzz around him from I can't say the name of that book, Human Target. And I'm loving his work in Human Target. So I always meant to read his stuff, his Moon Knight series, and he was on it for a while. And the first arc he did was with the writer Brian Wood, who has unfortunately he behaved badly and got kind of canceled. But anyway, I don't know if he should have been canceled, but he did some really good work with Greg Smallwood. And it's weird to read it digitally because you want to take in the whole page.
Right.
I don't think his style is more, in terms of the drawing style, it's more utilitarian than it's become even more stylized in the current work.
Right.
But it's still really nice work, and it's incredible layouts, incredibly
very
inventive.
nice.
So it's just a thrill. And I think it's an arc for, 5 or 6 issues, and it's a really good story. And it's told in a really good way. Like, they never sit down and explain things to you, if you know what I mean. It develops, the story unfolds very cleverly. So I mean, if you zoomed into panels, you just don't get the right effect.
Right.
But anyway, it's really cool. So I'd like to find the physical copies, hopefully, in a dollar box or something somewhere. But the digital was nice and easy, and I read this on the plane during my travels. And I don't know how much to give away, but let's just say that he has a therapist, but she is crazier than he is. And all kinds of wacky stuff ensues with the therapist. So I guess I can't say too much now that I think about it. But Brian Wood was known for kind of his political side to it. And he tackles kind of the issue of civil war in Africa and the aftermath of that kind of thing through Moon Knight. But he does it in a way that does not feel forced, and that ends up with all kinds of clever twists that you wouldn't expect. Not just the stereotypical stereotypical politically correct way of talking about something like that. And we do get, so the Moon Knight, it seems like Khonshu is real here, because he sometimes switches to different people. He's not sure if he wants to stay with what's Stephen Grant Lockwood. It has so many different names, right? But our main Moon Knight hero, it's like he he might move over and work with some other avatar should he choose. So anyway, there's just tons of incredible art and everything. So this is kind of one of those. I mean, it's like people did notice that he was doing good work, but it's one of those things that that should be looked back at.
Right.
And there's so much. Oh wait, this is something else. I don't think did I read this?
It would say to you if you read it or not. It takes.
Yeah, I thought it said I read it, but this is Colin Bunn and a different writer. So maybe I started reading it. I'm sorry. So it must have ended with maybe issue 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I shouldn't show the end of the issue, but anyway, it's so much of Marvel is so crappy right now. I kind of forget there are gems in there. I mean, of course, and this is from 5 or 6 years ago, but there are.
Right.
This is definitely a gem, something to look for. And there's another run he did with Jeff Lemire, which I haven't read yet. So I'm going to try that next.
It's nice to see him doing the panel-less borders there as well, too.
Yes.
Or the without the black line, rather, I guess.
Right.
Well, yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, the borderless panels.
That's it. That's the word. Yeah, there you go.
Beautiful coloring here by Jordi Belair.
Mm-hmm. Is this the series after or before Jeff Lemire?
Before. So I guess there was this series with Brian Wood and Greg Smallwood. Then there was Colin Bunn and someone else.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood again.
Okay.
And before that was the Warren Ellis. Speaking of people, so this had two people who are now canceled for
right.
The Warren Ellis series, which kind of set up this version of Moon Knight with Mr. Knight. Normally he doesn't dress like the Moon Knight. He's not in costume here. He dresses, in this white suit. Can't find it. Anyway, so that was all. It's sort of building on what Warren Ellis set up, but I think this Brian Wood arc is better than the Warren Ellis. Although I like the Warren Ellis too, and that was with Declan Shalvey as the artist, who's also pretty good. But the Greg Smallwood is just kind of fascinating.
Because he's showing this, and his Jeff Lemire work is what your Smallwood you kind of know now in your Human Target. So he's discovered something.
Did you read the Lemire series?
Yeah, I read only volume. I think one or two of them. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know for sure volume 1. I definitely read it, and I think I remember something else was coming out of Greg Smallwood. One of those big books Marvel came out. What did he did? Was it not? It wasn't Venom. What it was before they reprinted it was a bigger format. I don't remember. Anyway, so I was saying to you guys, I remember even recalling that conversation while we were there, saying check Greg Smallwood because he's fantastic. Because when I read that Jeff Lemire one, it was really good. It's just like a paneling. Right. Another thing I noticed in digital format of like the shadows, kind of. Especially the dark scenes, like the night scenes, it's always sometimes kind of more messy when it would be in paper, which is kind of bizarre because at the end of the day, you can, contrast, you can play with light and stuff. But I remember doing so, and it's not really working. So I don't know what that is all about. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of very different to him, what I've normally know now of Greg Smallwood is, because he's showing some of those panels, and then one as what. Like I said, like what he was before.
He's not that level yet. You can see a lot of shades of what he kind of turns into with this Human Target for sure. But yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so it looks like then with Lemire, he did an arc, and then Francesco Francavilla did an arc after him.
Right.
So I want to get that too. Yeah, look at that. That's much more.
Yeah, that's much. Yeah,
I told you. Yeah. You see what?
So Still Jordi Belair doing the coloring. It almost looks like Greg Smallwood did his own coloring there, but I guess not. He's using more different types of media there, and it's being like more detailed.
Not afraid to experiment now. Maybe they give him a bit more of kind of leeway.
Confidence.
Right, he kind of proved himself with that first arc, and then they let him try new things. Yeah.
Because that's what it seems to be what he's known for now, because you can see the Human Target issues. He has that. It's like almost like a signature now of his. Which I'm waiting for to come out in collected editions. How many is left to how many issues there will be?
12 total, and they're up to 7
issue
or 8.
8 just came out, so we're getting there.
They already put out a trade of the first half.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
But I'm hoping
so, like,
they put out a more deluxe
issues.
version of everything together.
A deluxe collection of everything would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one I would double dip on for sure.
You can't trust DC in terms of the binding.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
yeah.
It's something I would want to look at in a store to make sure the binding was good before I order it.
Yeah, because you never know if it's going to crumble or not.
Right.
And sometimes they'll do glued binding even on a hardback, which is,
I see,
in my mind, a sin. But
if it's like sewn but glued, but it's too stiff, so when you open, it cracks like a thunder almost, and then you're like, oh, like you probably think that you ruined the book, and it probably did, because it's basically the whatever sewn thing is probably got loose from the like the crack, which is supposed to actually relax the spine in generally.
Yeah.
But
yeah, ironically, he might be drawing digitally. I don't know. Although that newer style looks. Do you think he's doing that newer, more detailed style digitally?
I'm pretty sure, because I seem to remember. I'd have to go back to look at the thread, but he did a whole detailed breakdown on his Twitter about Human Target and going through the process and digital tools and things like that, and textures and stuff. So it was super interesting. Some of it completely went over my head because he's talking a language I don't know, but it was good to see just to him talk about his process and inspirations and things like that.
But he probably could make a small fortune on the original art now if there was some.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He probably could.
I mean,
but back when he was doing this other stuff, I don't think anyone would have cared. But
yeah.
There is that thing called NFT still, but I'm not sure how popular it still is. But we were saying
it used to be on the decline. Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody was saying, "Oh, look, it's like a new way of collecting your art, the art of your loved artists." Anyway,
not for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, me neither. Yeah.
No. Yeah, you get the money. It would be nice.
In terms of how much time I have left, I don't know about you guys. We could do a little quickie round, and then I probably have to go.
Okay. Yeah, I've got nothing else to talk about, so you two can go for it. Yeah.
You have anything else you want to talk about, Rasa?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then you can take up Terrence's time.
Yeah, there you go.
So I have an extra more time.
You have some extra time.
So another creator is quite new to me. Well, I knew completely, not quite new, it's new completely. Julia Sagramola. I don't know. I'm butchering names quite badly. Julia, let's say this way.
So another European?
Yeah. I don't know where she's from, to be quite honest with you. I think it's maybe Italian.
Okay, that would make sense.
It doesn't say her in here, unfortunately, but it's a surprise to me. It's a Dark Horse print.
Oh. Okay.
So it's really, it almost felt like Fantagraphic. Honestly, because you can't see I wasn't really concentrating. I was thinking it would be like Fantagraphic style to it, because it's wider when you usually, I mean, not really wide, but wider to a comic, or not maybe, like slightly, like there you go. So almost like a comic book, but just a bit more space. Anyway, so it's apparently it's the first graphic novel by this creator, the first one. It's really recent. It just came out, apparently, I think. It actually came out, of course, European. It came out 2015. English translation is 2022 for us who speak, we can't read any different language. And it's a kind of weird because it has this adult side to it, but it doesn't have a matter of adult inside. It's more like a teen story. It's about two sisters who lives in Italy, and they're going through teenage angst kind of thing, where where that promiscuous type, where one is a bit likes to have way more sexual experiences than the other one looks kind of a little bit more closed down, and she doesn't want to talk about having a boyfriend and stuff like that. And it's called Summer Fires because it's all set in summer, in a couple of months. It goes through seasons, so it starts in June and finishes, I think, in September. Where I actually thought, fires happens everywhere. At first, maybe I thought maybe Portugal, but it seems to be Italy. It's here because at the back it says it's in Italy. Anyway, it has really great style and the coloring, which I actually love now, where it's only two-tone colors, and she uses kind of like once again, a graphite, it seems to be, but it's too clean in some lines. So maybe she's mixing it both like ink and graphite. She uses graphite for the hair, or like posters in here, but the other doors looks like it's like more inking style. So yeah, so two girls who basically go through different experiences on that kind of part.
Sorry, there was an image there, and I know I've seen that like on an album or something.
Yeah, it is an album. Once again, it's the minus theme of music.
Yeah, so Sonic Youth.
Oh, Sonic Youth. Okay,
yeah.
I knew I'd seen it somewhere. I couldn't quite place it.
Yeah. Here you go. So it's my theme is music, which is much better than Terence's death stuff. Anyway, so yeah, they talk about like Nirvana, and actually she gives a playlist at the back. To what
and on the cover, she was wearing a Bikini Kill T-shirt.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So Britney Spears, Violet Themes, Smashing Pumpkin, Chemical Brother, Nirvana, Ramones, Dandy Warhol, The Cure, and Verdena. Who's Verdena? Balvanota. So maybe that's a bit more Italian style of that, because I've never heard Verdena. So yeah, it's beautifully done, illustrated. It's very easy to read. It flows through quite nicely. I kind of like felt like I'm kind of reliving life like next to my sister. My sister is older than me 4 years, so the choir was quite a gap. My sister hated me because I was interrupting her because my parents were always pushing me to be part of her group, unfortunately, and for me, I didn't care for, because in that time I didn't care what she was caring for. Let's say boys, I wasn't caring for boys, and she was like into it, like 110% for sure. So I kind of felt like one of the characters, this girl in particular, who she does feel kind of not the same, can't be part of the group. It seems to be the year differences doesn't feel too different. I don't know who's the older, because it doesn't really say in this graphic novel. But it's, as I say, really good, interesting take. What's happened big because she goes through a boyfriend, and and they do that in the forest kind of thing. The first time, it was kind of bizarre, the choice of going through, but unfortunately they split, and she changes the scenes and the color scheme through the month, like different months. So I think this is on August, and they talk about drugs and all of course music. There's music lettering in here, very hard, and I wouldn't say this is adult version whatsoever. I think library absolutely, just because they talk sex and their experiences, shouldn't be put an adult. I think it's teens for sure, because that's what teens experience these days. Splits up, and the time it was, and she has this old school Nokia phones. So it definitely was something I experienced in that time. So yeah, it's something to want to relive your like teenage life. Is definitely, this is kind of good thing to talk about, like to read or have a look and experience. But there's something I've not
me to relive your teenage life.
Sure. But yeah, it's really Dark Horse produces great hardcovers. It's superb.
Yeah.
The spine is absolutely magnificent. Like spreads, like I can just go this crazy way, but of course I'm not that crazy. But it's very fresh. It seems to be my library decided to put more stock. Actually, what happened is I went to different branch, and I realized they have all the things like I don't have it here. I have not yet read Karma. I don't know if I want to. I love the art, by the way. Having that hardcover in my hands, I cannot stop looking at it because it's absolutely gorgeous. The scenery is
unreal.
It's just so beautifully done. It's so meticulously. It means it's been like, it seems like it's been working for so long. And this hardcover, it just, that page size, it just makes such a difference as well. But because I know what they talk about it, and suicide is not something I kind of want to take in subject, knowing that I experienced that kind of feeling. So I don't know, I'm hesitant, but I can't stop looking at the art. So I'm thinking maybe I should go through the art. I did flip through like 5 times already. So I kind of spoil myself with the art. But I have not read the bubbles, so I'm not sure what to do. I guess I just be a sport and just do the whole thing and appreciate.
I mean, the art is a good way to go through it. It is a gorgeous book. Like, it's phenomenal artist. It's flows so nicely, you know.
So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And anybody who hasn't yet touched the Carmen comic, what's blanking the name of the artist now?
Guillaume March.
March, there you go.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So yeah,
From
so
Carmen,
it's another one which has just I was like looking in the library. It's like, really, you have Carmen?
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I was like,
did they put that in the adult section?
It's a good library.
Well, the adult section, so that branch I'm talking about, which I went, it's very open. Of course, all libraries are quite open, but they have this. They keep on changing where they put those adult versions comics, but they kind of mix with teens as well, so anybody can really pick it up. But I was like, oh my God, do you have actually Carmen? Like, I could not believe it. It's like straight away just plucked it out of it. I cannot stop looking at the art. It's just absolutely spectacular. So yeah, so I'm now apparently, if I will travel around the different branches, I also gonna go into the libraries as well, because it seems to be the widening the comic book part. It seems like there's more of them now. So, and more adult versions as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, the one thing I've been doing lately is just plugging in authors into the database online and just seeing, because we've got quite a few branches, and I've been surprised the kind of stuff that I'm finding that the other branches have. Like there's a lot. Like it's grown by leaps and bounds, which makes sense to me, but it really has grown by leaps and bounds. Like the graphic novel section of libraries in general, it seems like across North America and, you know, UK, and it's fantastic. There's stuff there that I never would have thought they'd be carrying, so it's great.
Yeah. So
a lot of librarians are very eager to, you know, find out what graphic novels to get and stuff. I believe that Books with Pictures, the comic book store nearby here, she consults with librarians as one of her side gigs.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Cool.
They pay her a little money and she gives them... She might even distribute books to them. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And speaking of that, Scott Hazelwood, who lives here in Portland, is dropping by, and he does a lot of artwork on. I enjoy his artwork on Instagram, and occasionally does videos. So good to see you here, Scott. I guess I'll just do a real quick thing, and then probably need to go. But I have just got this new book from Jason called Upside Down, and I've only read 1.5 of the stories. But it looks like we're looking at more Dadaistic, surreal kinds of stuff. In a weird way, it connects in my mind to the Yummy Fur stuff that I was reading. So the first one, let's see, it's called Woman, Man, Bird. And these people go on a date. Maybe it's a blind date or just a first date. And they start just having kind of random conversation. I grew up in a small city. Do you like London? I go there every fall. It's like they're not even really talking to each other. And then it just gets weirder and weirder and more abstract, their conversation. So it's like a date, you know, a date that just doesn't connect at all, I guess. It's the play. But then he gets, you know, he plays all these visual games, different. Some of them I catch, you know, that looks like an R. Crumb drawing there.
Flintstones cartoon.
You got who's that? What's his name? Not Bela Lugosi. Anyway, Dick Tracy, famous sculpture there.
Yeah, on the beach.
Man on the Moon. Our favorite, Olive Oil, The Wicked Witch. Anyway, it goes on like that. Oh, and there's
Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes. So it was kind of fun. You know, nothing deep, but kind of a clever thing. And then I got part of the way through this one. But you could tell already it's a detective story, and each panel just has part of the sentence of a cliched detective story, but not the rest. But you know what's coming anyway.
Right.
It was supposed to rain, but instead I can hear steps that hesitatingly, you know, a radio in the neighboring apartment plays a song I remember from, and then it doesn't. So very clever. Looks cool. I don't know if the whole book will be like that. That does look good. And then I read the first story in this collection of Junji Ito horror stories. And the first one was very cool. It was kind of almost like a Twilight Zone, because there's this song that was recorded somehow by someone after they died, and there's only bootleg copies of it available, and there's only one disc in all of Japan, and this girl has it, and this other girl steals it from her because she won't lend it to her to record it, and then ends up killing her apparently, but she doesn't think she's killed her. It just gets very surreal. And then, you know, she's looking for some place to play the record, and it's in this jazz cafe, and then someone else recognizes it as this famous song. So everyone will kill for this song that was recorded when someone died. And we just get a little bit of the old body horror near the end, I think, or maybe just a bunch of murder. Anyway, it was quite cool. It also kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you guys have ever read the Japanese author Haruki Murakami. He often has these kind of dreamlike stories, and people are always into jazz. There's jazz music in there, like a, what do you call it? Shebop, a doobop, a wop bop.
Yeah.
I'm doing bad with words today.
Yeah, well, exactly. Know exactly what you feel like. It's almost like live videos is like blanking completely.
Scat. It was scat. A scat.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And then a big surprise: this new Tarzan comic. I think maybe like Conan, you know, they can do the Sumerian, they can do the Lord of the Jungle, and then call him Tarzan on the inside.
Right.
Oh,
And this is written by Dan Jurgens, you know, known for, you know, kind of standard DC comics.
Yeah.
And this artist, Benito Gallego, who I really liked in Shudder and the Creeps, that imitation of the Warren comic. So I got it because of him, because he draws kind of like John Buscema. The colors kind of ruined it, because look, you see that picture, and they reprinted it in black and white there. It looks much better.
Way better.
I wish the whole comic was black and white. But also, so I knew I was going to like the art. It's kind of pseudo John Buscema and other artists of that ilk. But Dan Jurgens has done something very clever, where he's retelling the origin of Tarzan, but as being told by an African who was a friend of Tarzan's.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's a framing device where an elderly Tarzan is coming by ship to Africa. And so it's like telling two stories at once. The origin of Tarzan, which is very familiar to me because I've read it in several comics and the original books before. But then as old men, there's his old friend and there's an old Tarzan. So they're going to have some kind of adventure together, and we'll get the retelling of his. So I'm a Tarzan fan, and I wasn't expecting too much, but I was happily surprised so far from this. The only problem is the coloring style sort of obscuring the art. Sorry, what, Rasa?
When you say Tarzan, you have to do the chest thing. You know, it doesn't work like that.
Can you hear my chest?
Yes. You know, when we do hardcovers and we do this.
I used to do that a lot as a kid, but I haven't done that much recently.
I always did that the same as well. Even though I'm female, I should be like Jane, being all flawless and stuff. But I was doing the same.
Yes, Lon Chaney was the name I was trying to remember. He was doing the Phantom of the Opera, the Man of 1,000 Faces.
Right.
Calvin.
So anyway, that kind of wraps it up, I guess.
So I'll just say one thing, that this Saturday, if you tune into Meanwhile at the podcast, I am the guest this Saturday. So they're tuning into. I finally got my time in the spotlight after Damien and Rasa.
And George always gets a little something different out of people, I think.
Well, and he decided, I guess I got to talk to this knucklehead. I've talked to the other two, so it was good. Yeah, it was a really good chat. So if you don't follow that, check that out for sure.
Yes,
and have a listen.
And that's for people who don't know, that's a podcast, not a video.
Correct.
So definitely check that out, because that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to kind of chat about stuff. Yeah.
Cool. We're gonna have to hear it to see what you talk about.
Yeah. Nothing that'll be much of a surprise, I don't think.
Do you give your real opinion of Rasa on there?
Totally. I spill all the beans.
I knew it. I mean, come on.
Behind the scenes gossip, like we wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe it. You have to tune in.
And people should go back and find when he interviewed Rasa. That was actually
it was great.
Yourself as well, Damien. You've been there for a few times, so yeah. So
yeah,
it's a great chat for sure.
I really liked your interview with him. I don't know how mine are, but I'm looking forward to see how he and Terrence dig into things.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, we had lots of great comments. Thank you to everyone who was here. Thank you to Gore. He tried his best. The internet.
We do apologize for this.
Everything's better in Texas except the internet, I guess. The people who should be working on the internet are thinking about the cheerleaders too much.
That's right. Yeah. They're swimming in pom-poms.
Bye-bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Probably on Terrence's channel?
Yeah, probably. We'll figure it out.
We'll see.
Maybe it's my turn. You never know.
Subscribe to everyone, in other words.
Exactly.
Talk to you later.
Bye.